You ready?
Yeah.
Good. All right. I'll give you a cheers to start it.
All right.
Makes my life easy to give a place to cut the video right there.
Yeah.
So today, Mr. Kelly Hunt, appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man.
You've had quite some stories I've heard of. You've had your own business, family, man, all the great things. You want to kind of get started with what you're doing now. I think that would kind of interesting to talk through.
That's some of the outfit.
The get up and looking professional. There you go.
Well, now what I do is I still am in pharmacy. That's what I am by trade. Yeah. And I actually work in the nonprofit healthcare space. So as opposed to what I did in a previous life, for profit, now we're using some of that same type business model and systems in the nonprofit space. So basically what we're doing is we're going and looking for people that cannot afford insurance, they're underinsured, and they need medical care and prescription care. Okay. And my job is to figure all that out on the prescription side. Okay. And so we're looking for just grants and funding, and resources to help those people. So
how much of the funding are you involved in that? Or are you more involved in just like kind of getting the medical side?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, it's a little bit of all of it, because you have to be able to do the prescription part, but you have to be mindful that there's a lot of people that cannot afford the stuff that you're getting. Yeah. So it's not on the level playing field. So we have to find the grants to be able to pay, to help subsidize those patients. Yep. Meanwhile, other people can't afford it, and they end up paying just like you would at any other pharmacy. Yeah. So my job is a little bit of that, of all of that. So define funding, put people on that to be able to get that stuff, bring it into what we're doing, and then also be able to cater to regular folks that can afford it on a multitude of levels.
So just really kind of hitting everything pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, because, like I said, coming from a for-profit retail world, everything's about volume and, trying to purchase enough medications to be able to supply the demand. And what we're doing on this side of it is still supply and demand based, but you're trying to be very mindful of cost, affordability, and finding ways for people that, hey, it's $100 medication, but this person is homeless. Yeah. So like, how do you figure out how to get $100 medicine to a homeless person or to drug addicts? They have very limited income, but they still need stuff to help with their addiction. Right. And how do we bridge those gaps?
Find that balance.
Yeah. So in the twilight of my career, I figure I got 10, 12 years left. Yeah. It's a new challenge, but I really like it. I really enjoy it. There's kind of a mission to it. Yeah. So it's kind of, maybe feel a little bit younger again, I guess, and invigorated to kind of keep going.
Is it kind of like, is it like basically starting your own, like, is the nonprofits established before you were there, or did you help kind of like establish it throughout the?
It's kind of crazy because, I had owned stores before. Yeah. And so I was kind of whittling down my career in that regard. Mm-hmm. And this company, it's called Regenesis. Okay. They are the nonprofit. Mm-hmm. And they had tried pharmacy before and did miserable at it. So one thing led to another. The president of that company finds me. We started a conversation, which built a relationship. And then he's like, "Hey, are you kind of like thinking about getting out of pharmacy?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Well, we're actually really wanting to get into pharmacy." And he said, "So how about if we buy your last store, we convert it into Regenesis, and then you teach us how to do this." Yeah. And that was it was during the pandemic. So it was 2021, early 2021. Mm-hmm. And so I did that. That was the third store for them. And then I did the fourth store, the fifth store, and I'm actually building their sixth store now. So
doing pretty well.
So so I'm using other people's money, which is great. That's nice. Versus when I owned them, it was all my money. Yeah. So it's a little bit easier and more fun. Without the burden of like having to figure out like, hey,
who's going to pay that loan?
Yeah,
who's gonna pay?
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, but I guess all that did teach me how to do it economically, and with a thinner margin, and bringing that to this space helps us to make good decisions. How to not overpay, but yet have everything that you need. Mm-hmm. So it's worked well in 5 years. We went from 2 stores to now 6. Yeah. And reaching more people and finding more avenues, and so it's good. I love it. I think my company loves it. So it's a great relationship.
Yeah, win-win. Can't go wrong there.
Exactly.
Is a lot of is it all upstate or is it kind of spread out?
It is. So like what we're called technically is called FQHC, which is a federally qualified health center.
Okay.
Which gives us the ability for the grants and the funds and the subsidies to come in.
So it's like federal grants and
yes,
okay.
State grants, federal grants coming in. Then we can basically say, okay, we're going to take this grant, use it for this group of patients. This grant goes to this group of patients. But in doing so, the government actually has us licensed in certain counties. So the only downside to my job is I live over here near you.
Yeah.
But the counties we service is Spartanburg, Union County, and Cherokee County. So I have like that upper quadrant of the state.
Got like a 2-hour drive.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, again, I was doing it this morning. So I get in traffic about an hour and a half ago. It takes, depending on how 85 is, I can sit there for a while or I can come through with ease. Today, it was pretty busy. So yeah.
If that's the worst part of the job, I'll take it.
That's exactly what I think. Because when people ask, they're like, what's the worst part of your job? And I tell them it's the drive. Everything else I love. But that's really not a huge con, right? I mean, I get to do what I love for a lot of people that haven't been able to find affordable health care. So for me, if it means I got to drive an extra 45 minutes to an hour more than the average person,
that's all right.
Right.
Probably this point in your career, it's like, I'll take an hour and a half of peacetime. It really isn't that bad.
Hey, listen, and I'm sitting down. At my age, anytime you get to sit down is a win. So
it works out.
Right.
Do you have to go political to get grants or funding, or do you just apply to a general website?
It's interesting. Is obviously there's a political nature to it in that the networking part is important, right? So you have to know where to go and who to talk to and which departments have, the funding available. Yeah. So if there's any political part to it, I would say that's the networking part. Otherwise, you just have to have a team of people that are constantly looking. So I'll give you an example is you may have seen in the news or social media a while back where the federal government sued a bunch of opioid manufacturers.
Yeah.
And then they won a bunch of money. So then what they did is they turned around and gave each state a certain amount, right?
Yeah.
Well, that state now has grant money. And then they can filter it down to places like us that say, hey, if you give us $500,000, we could go and be with the penitentiary system. And we could help them with some of their, medication treatment programs to get people off of meth.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's how we find that kind of avenue to find funding, get that funding, and then be able to provide some type of a program, to somebody somewhere. And so it's a culmination of everything. It's you got to find it. You got to be good enough to apply and be able to have a good enough business, some type of a business plan to show, hey, if you give us $1 million,
we're not just going to spend $1 million on jet skis.
Right, you'd be surprised. I mean, that does happen. But in the past, some of the things that we've done through that type of a scenario is that one of the things that kind of limits us is people that have affordability issues. A lot of times transportation is the number one hurdle, right? Because if they don't have money to come to the doctor and pay for prescriptions and medical care, odds are they're not paying gas and they don't have a car.
Yeah.
So one of the things we had was we have all these offices, but the offices are only as good as people get to.
Yeah.
And so we had to kind of figure out how do we get to those people. And one of those grants came up. We applied for and got a trailer. So it's basically like a NASCAR trailer that they basically wrapped with Regenesis and they hook it to a truck and they can take it to places in
areas where you can kind of expect
to do sports physicals. You drop it off at a high school that has a lot of impoverished students. That way they don't have to drive to a doctor and pay a doctor to do it. We can just go there, do all their sports physicals right in that trailer at no cost to the athlete.
Yeah.
So those are examples. But we had to have a plan. What are you going to do with the trailer? You're going to put a race car in it and go to Pickens County Speedway every week, or are you going to do something with it? That's kind of thing. So it's again, 5 years ago I didn't know any of that. I wondered those same questions, how do they get money to do this stuff? But it's really it's an interesting, intricate, and it takes a long time. Some of these things that we're getting money for now we may have started that process years ago, and so it just depends on what it is, who it is, and how much we're asking for, that kind of stuff. So, and being an FQHC, the government subsidizes us to a certain degree every year based on our performance. Okay. The better we do, the more patients we reach, the government actually has a grant that we actually get. Yes.
Huh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's interesting how that all kind of dances together.
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, coming from my world where, you were basically trying to just make money and give the government less. Yeah. Now I'm working in an environment where we're trying to,
I'll take some of that money.
That works out pretty good.
Yeah. All that money I've been paying over the years, I'll take it back now.
Exactly.
Have you ever thought of doing like a mobile, like in not like an RV, but like a small mini, like van almost?
Yeah.
Like if that, I mean, I feel like that'd be a cool way of doing it. I think most of that. All right, so I'm city planning. And so transportation's obviously part of that. Mm-hmm. And so when you're saying trying to get to people, access, I understand the problem.
Right. Exactly.
So, I think the trailer's an interesting idea. Yeah. It seems like a van though, where you could like drive around and go through like areas of, I mean, you just know the area, like once you've kind of been there, wherever you're working, you have an idea of where's lower income spots, where my client's kind of coming from. Seems like a cool idea.
Yeah. And, it's tricky with us in the trailer, for instance. Mm-hmm. One of our biggest successes from a pharmacy end is we knew coming into 25 that the migrant worker population in Spartanburg, Cherokee, and Union County, we have a ton of migrant workers, right, that are legally able to be there. They have visas. They have work visas. Right. So they can be there from 6 months to, I think, 9 months is an average. So those people come into the upstate. They gravitate to these farms, and they stay on the farms, and they work on the farms. Mm-hmm. The problem is like those people have zero transportation because they're on the farm, right? And so the only way they get on and off the farm is like through like church vans. The farmer might load a few people up in the trucks and head to town or whatever, but otherwise they're kind of stuck there. Yeah. But that's a prime example is like having that trailer, being able to go. We literally set it down at the edge of those fields. Yeah. Those folks come out of the fields. We're able to see them with some bilingual folks and treat them. Yeah. See them with the doctor. The doctor's on the left side of the trailer. Yeah. Pharmacy's on the right side. Mm-hmm. So we're basically like a minute clinic in the middle of York, South Carolina, just out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. And we have Starlink as our internet. Oh, that's cool. And so we literally hoist a dish, pick up a satellite, and then they're able to e-scribe and do everything like you would if you walked into a minute clinic.
How easy is Starlink been to like set up and use?
Super easy.
I'm always curious about that.
It was amazing because, I am not, like all of this stuff even is way out of my league in terms of IT stuff. But we knew we had to have somehow the best remote access to internet that there was, right? To be able to do this. Because when you go out onto an 2,000 acre farm, you're not picking up anybody's Wi-Fi, right? And so hotspots don't work. Nothing works. Yeah. And so we kind of just through checking different things, Starlink came up. But literally, we received it in a box. Yeah. It had one of these read before you do.
And instruction kit.
Yeah. And it's like you plug this in here, you plug that in there, you plug this, and then you stand out of the way. And then that thing kind of self-calibrates and it kind of finds what it wants. It will tell you if a tree is in the way. It will tell you to move it. It will do all that for you. And then once you have it set, then whatever you're paying for in terms of the bandwidth, speeds, all that stuff is up and running. And then everybody can link in, just like you would with your internet here. It's literally that simple. Yeah. I mean, it's foolproof because if I can do it,
then
anybody can do it. Right. Yeah. Because I'm IT challenged for sure. Yeah. But we have since used that in power outages where you can just hook a generator to the whole mix and you can have internet instantly. Yeah. I know during Hurricane Helene, that was kind of where I got the idea from, is that I was like, that seems to work because in Western North Carolina, that became like a really big story. Mm-hmm. So for us, I was like, even though we're not in the
worst conditions ever.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're out in the middle of an open field, we can
same thing, right?
Pick up something.
Right. Yeah. And so it has worked flawlessly. The only times we've had an issue at all is when we are, like, our location is bad. And what I mean by that is like we've put the dish up and like we'd be in a hole So, and you got trees on your east and west, and you're
so
kind of
in get like the
yes,
whatever.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So,
radio waves. Like
so it's basically asking you like, hey, it's trying to shoot over here off of this horizon, and you have all these trees, and can you not move? And so you have to like reposition to figure out where that is. But I mean, it's that smart. It's crazy how. I just thought it would be a whole lot more difficult, but
I kind of thought so as well.
Yeah,
I thought it would kind of be a complicated process.
No.
So
now
that's really cool
for the techie people.
Yeah,
like you can get in the weeds. Like our IT people, there's Starlink provides all of its configuration, and it provides all these data points. So they're looking at like the latency and the upload speed, download speed, all this, and so it's in real time updating all that it's doing. So for the tech junkies, like, you could sit there and be like amazed at like how this thing is, and it's changing satellites so quickly.
Every time they're going around, I guess.
Oh, like
the train that goes around.
I mean, it's almost like it's doing this because you can actually look at it and you can see. I guess because of the way that the Earth is rotating or something. I don't know. Yeah. But it literally is showing you. It's like pointing here, and then it goes like this, and just keeps picking up and keeps your internet going. Yeah. And but for us and what we're doing, like I said, the biggest thing for us was we had to have something that could get us internet anywhere. And the Starlink packages, they have one that I can't remember what it is, but it's literally guaranteeing you access anywhere in the world. So like if you're on a boat, if you're wherever, it's saying that they'll find you. Yeah, like if you just hoist it up. Which is crazy, but
it's wild. The first time that I heard about it was from a guy on a podcast, Paul. I can't remember his last name. He lives in the Amazon, and he used it in the Amazon, like in the middle. And I was like, "That's really cool." Yeah, like you can just, you know, he was like, "Well, we just put down the stuff and then set up and it ran," and it's like, wow.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
I mean, it truly is, because I mean, we have been in some precarious spots where I'm just like. Nobody's cell phone's working. It's hard to go somewhere where you can't get a cell signal these days.
It's really unique to go somewhere without cell service.
Yeah, but we're sitting out there like we are really on an island because we can't even call anybody if this doesn't work. And we have a 12-foot pole, and we put the dish up there, and we hold it up there, do what it says, and then literally, typically, I would say 5 minutes, it is like dialed in. And it's like it's as fast as your home internet. Yeah, I mean, like literally, you could start watching Netflix or whatever you wanted to watch in real speed without really any buffering. And it's just amazing that, and you can see the future is everybody's going to probably have that in their pocket.
Yeah, eventually, just
10, 15
everyone's phone can just kind of make its own. And,
yeah, it's amazing, but
it's really cool. You hired a marketing media person recently.
I did.
First, I'm curious, how much of the hiring process are you involved in, and like right now? How much of that is like kind of your role?
So my boss is the CEO.
Okay.
And so I answer to him only, which is kind of nice because I don't have layers to get there. So he has given me all free reign over all of my pharmacy and pharmacy related employees. So I have a staff of 30. I also fire. I can critique. I can write up. I can also reward. So I have a staff of 30, and that ultimately is all on me, right? So if I identify a need, like for instance, we just released a position today, actually, that we deliver medicines and we deliver them for free. Yeah. And one of the things we have continuously had issues with is staying ahead of that. If you deliver 1,000 things, then it's not long till you do 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. Now we're delivering over 4,000 a month. So I had to add a 5th driver. Yeah. And so I'm hiring I'll interview starting next week, some people for a pharmacy delivery driver.
Is that just like a delivery driver, like normal, like Amazon? Or is it like a pharmacist?
It's like a DoorDash.
Oh, okay.
Matter of fact, the last driver I hired was a DoorDash driver. He doesn't have to be any type of pharmacy, anything. We train them in terms of how to recognize things with HIPAA, like patient protection stuff, privacy, all of those things. We have to train them in that.
Yeah, I thought it'd be like one step above DoorDash. Or I thought there had to be something.
Yeah. Like you don't like if you order from McDonald's, you don't have to present your license.
Yeah.
When you get medications,
you probably need like something to be like, all right, some systems there.
Right. Yeah. And so it takes about 2 weeks for us to take any type of delivery driver, whether they're from Amazon, UPS, DoorDash. We get a lot of DoorDash drivers because it's kind of a natural extension. Mm-hmm. They're already doing those types of things. So the platform we use is similar.
Yeah.
So we're just adding like, okay, here's what refrigeration, you got to be mindful of this. You got to be for controlled substances. You got to have these things checked on. So we have to slow that down and make sure they understand, like, these aren't hamburgers.
Yeah.
Like, these are...
The food's cold, it's not really a problem.
Right. But if you leave a $3,000 injectable in somebody's mailbox, that's a problem. Right? Because it gets overheated and it's no good, and then we have to replace it. But so for me, back to your original question, everything that's under the pharmacy umbrella would be my responsibility, and thus me recognizing the value of what you do with social media and content creation and those kind of things is that I had come across a young lady that I actually saw a TikTok.
Okay.
And I was very entertained because what she was doing was reenacting in humor some things that she had happened to her in the pharmacy. Now, at first, I did not realize that this is actually a doctor of pharmacy person. Yeah. I just thought this was somebody that had some knowledge of pharmacy. Mm-hmm. And I was watching this, and I also noticed, boy, she's got a lot of followers, Yeah. And so I was like, she must be doing this for a while. And I was watching it, and they were really funny. Mm-hmm. So I was kind of captivated by it. Yeah. I showed one of my technicians this TikTok.
Right.
And she was like, I know her. And I'm like,
get down.
What do you mean you know her? And she's like, yeah, I used to work with her. And I was like, really? I was like, well, tell me your story. So she told me, she was like, then that's how I learned she was actually a pharmacist and all this stuff. I was like, what does she do? And she's like, well, this is kind of her passion, but she actually works part-time for another company. Whoever. And I was like, so she's getting her content from like
actually
real life.
Working.
Yes. Yeah. And then she just goes home and she's like, you know what? If I just tweak this a little bit, because she dresses in character and she does all kinds of stuff. And so I said, I'd love to talk to her. See, the first 5 or 6 times, nothing. She was not really interested. I mean, this young lady's got,
she's doing her thing. She already has it set up.
She's got
to change it.
Right.
Yeah.
So my play was, I just said, hey, here's the thing, is we would like to have a part-time pharmacist. So that's a given, and I would like to hire you as such. I've heard great things about, your professionalism, what you do, all that. Mm-hmm. But here's what you're not getting where you're at that I would be interested in. I want to hire that. I want to hire you as a pharmacist, but I also want to hire you. I'll go out on the limb and hire you as a content creator. And so, we can help provide income, for what you're doing if you'll create our TikTok presence and educate patients on what we're doing, even with humor. Some of it is not humorous, right? But we want to tell the story. Yeah. But so finally that got me in the doorway of an interview. Mm-hmm. And so she came and met with me, and I was able just to kind of, I guess, and broaden on that and really convince her that what you're doing now is you're doing 2 things. Mm-hmm. You're working, and then you've carved out this nice niche where people are entertained by you. Mm-hmm. What we're wanting to do is we want to combine all that. And you can still do your other stuff under you. That's fine. Yeah. But we want you to create, a Regenesis pharmacy education, TikTok,
social media
podcast
presence across all the...
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that got us kind of in a negotiation, and then one thing led to another, and here we are. I have the first of 280 something employees that we have overall. We have the first content creator.
So. I think that's really interesting. Yeah. I thought having I've talked to a couple people that have done their own small business and whatever, but the idea of not getting so much of a marketing person as an actual content creator.
Yes.
I thought that's very unique of this day and age, and I thought that was really cool. I think how you explained it too of all right, you can be a pharmacist, you can make videos for the pharmacy, but then still having the free will to go create your, whatever.
Right.
Not having to be all right, well, you got to join an account, like
giving
the free reign on the outside, do what you want to do.
Correct.
I think that's pretty cool.
I tried to make sure, because I felt like, and again, I am not a content creator, but
you got one TikTok.
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
You got one.
I do have one, and my daughter's bothered me ever since. She's like, you can't just do one. You got to follow it up.
Yeah, you got to keep going.
I did one. But what was really neat was you're right, because I wanted at the outset to tell her, I don't want to stifle any of that creativity. You've created a following of hundreds of thousands of folks. I don't want to jeopardize that at all. You can keep all that, keep that identity, keep all that going. I just need help, with
building this platform.
Right, building this platform for us under our, banner, because we just want to tell that story. And like I said, if we can bring some of her humor, it's so engaging that for her audience, I think it plays well. And so that would educate people about who we are. Yeah. But then on the important stuff, like going out and telling the migrant story and, how we're, helping and doing things for addicts and homelessness and all those things. That's entertaining, but it's also very educational. Yeah. And I feel like that's, I don't want to advertise that. I just want to teach people that. Yeah. And that's what a content creator, their creativity and the way that they envision things and produce things, to me, is what I love about social media anyway. I don't like just seeing somebody showing me that they're in,
Dubai or
right, yeah. Like I don't. But when somebody has something that they're either like a how-to or like an educational thing, whether that be from sports. I'm a sucker for any sports documentary, right? But that's the same type of thing. Is it's engaging because it's telling you, like, how did this happen? How did it come about? Yeah. And I think that for Brittany, I think that she's in tune with that. And I'm excited about.
Also having the skill set of being qualified to talk about it, having background in it, and working in it, certifications, all the stuff.
Well, I mean, like for me, it was like finding a unicorn, right? Because like I could go out and get a content creator, has no medical experience. I could go get a pharmacist, but then they're like, well, they'd be like me, like I made a TikTok. Right. But that doesn't make them a content creator. So, but to find one that has a proven track record, that has done it and has actually worked for other companies. I mean, she's done work for Nature Made Vitamins and some big names.
Been successful across the board.
Yeah. And so I'm like, why wouldn't I just want to like piggyback on that? Be a small part. She can have all that other stuff. Like I don't want to infringe on any of that as long as it doesn't interfere with what we're doing, and she has the bandwidth to do all of it. And so for us it was like, hey, like let's work this out. So I'm excited about having it. I keep pitching myself saying, I've done a couple of these.
I've been in a video or two. I know it's all.
But I can also tell she's like, okay. So I think I'm going to be probably at the back of the line. I'm sure there's probably better people and more entertaining people to interview. So I'm going to let her run with it and give her I guess the biggest thing for me is going to be how to continue to foster that creativity. And that'll be a challenge for me, right? Because I'm of the age and the generation where it's just working, right? Everybody's working. But I'm trying to get my head around the creativity and the thought process it takes to even do what you're doing. I can tell you put a lot of thought and a lot of time and a lot of study into like making everything fluid and making everything flow and improving on the technology. So for me, my biggest thing is going to be like, how do I keep the accountability, the responsibility in place, but at the same time not get in the way, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's like an interesting spot from from a boss's perspective. So normally you have like billable hours or you have like all this stuff, but it's like creativity isn't really like it's hard to be a billable hour in the sense of like it's not. I'm thinking about it. I might be writing some notes about it, but I'm not until I produce a 15, 60 second clip, whatever it is. Yeah. There's not there's nothing tangible about it. Right. That's interesting.
And I think initially what we're going to do and what I think is agreeable to both of us was what we said is like, hey, I don't know what that looks like, right? Like to your point, you might sit around and look like you're doing nothing, but you're meditating on some type of an idea. That might take 2 hours. Whereas I might be looking at her going, you could have checked about 100 prescriptions in the time that, but I think she's professional enough and she obviously has a track record proven. So what I have to do is just trust that process and again, get out of her way. So we've allotted a certain amount of time. The only thing that her and I kind of negotiated was in every certain amount of time period, can I expect,
a video or
like a TikTok, maybe a reel, maybe a story, maybe something on Instagram. And if we can, and if I've given you ample enough time to pull some of those things off in this amount of time, like, is that fair? Do you feel comfortable and not pushed for a deadline? Do you not feel pushed for compromising the quality? Like, I don't want to rush TikTok because I said you had to have that done.
If I need 5 TikToks for the week or whatever it is, it's like, I don't want to, 3 good ones and then 2,
right, that looks like you just did it, and that you just sent it to me unedited or something. So we have, we've kind of come to those terms, and we'll just have to revisit.
Imagine that's a working kind of agreement of like, right. I mean, that's really difficult. It's a difficult measurable.
For me, it is because, like I said, I'm used to like
here's a report. Here's the prescription filled. Here's the clients that I've worked with. Here's
very easy for me to do in healthcare because I can say if you're doing this much, this is the output that I can expect. But in this new realm, there's a lot of stuff that is just not. It's gray. It's not white. It's not black. It's just a gray thing. So you have to find people that you trust. That
credible
good
people.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's with her. I felt like gosh, it's taken me so long to even get in front of this young lady. She clearly doesn't need us. She doesn't need Kelly. She doesn't need Regenesis. She doesn't need us. I got to somehow figure out how to captivate her imagination so she'll bring that to us. And like I said, I mean, it wasn't easy, but I'm super glad. And fortunately, knock on wood, she seems to really be embracing the culture that we have. She loves the environment that we're doing. So all of that should foster more ideas, more creativity, more fun, more stuff that she could probably use on her private stuff that is still entertaining and funny. Because patients are funny. They're always doing something that
there's always
oh my goodness, I mean, I wish I would have remembered at some point to write a book or write notes about some of the stuff that has happened to me over 30 years. But this whole new platform is a way for people to share that.
What's going on? It's relatable. It's amazing how many relatable stories that are unique, like unique 100%. In your day.
Yeah,
you can transfer across so many people.
Yes,
yes. The same situations happen to everyone.
Yeah,
like it is pretty. It's pretty insane.
Yeah.
How much of the background did you spend on like? Did you try to like figure out how much time was like normal to like give someone for like content creation, or like what was the like kind of? So I imagine you weren't just like. Pull it out of thin air of like.
I really kind of sat out and I thought, okay, how do the big things that I was kind of making sure I played in between, right? So like if I put a basketball court, the boundaries, the thing I was pretty clear on is like, okay, how do I be respectful in those boundaries? But yet set realistic expectations. And so due diligence part was like, okay, well, how much does it take? Time-wise to do, so I would look up that and then I would kind of add a little bit to that. And then I wanted to lay down like, okay, if you're working for us part-time, is it reasonable to expect you to work 10 hours of pharmacy time, 20 hours of pharmacy time, more?
20/20,
right.
10/30.
Yes. And so what we landed on was like, okay, if you work 2 shifts, that would be 20 hours.
Okay.
Right. So that's my clear-cut billable hours that she's going to be a pharmacist. Meanwhile, she's also going to be soaking in all that potential content, ideas in front of patients, in front of providers, in front of our staff, all those things. Then we said, okay, well, administratively, like how much time would it take, if you took 2 days and you were working, if we gave you another day, would it be reasonable to expect a certain amount of content? And then, like I said, we just kind of built that time out thinking, okay, it takes X amount of hours to do this, X amount of, to produce, edit, those kind of things. Would we be as a company satisfied with that much output if we invested in administrative thing? We're not going to come to you and say, hey, instead of you doing that, we need you to work as a pharmacist. Yeah. We're going to respect that. We're not going to try to exchange it. It's not going to be
call in person.
Exactly, because that's disrespectful. Because now I'm telling you, like the checking of prescriptions and being a pharmacist is more important than this. And I think that was important to her because it would be to me.
Yeah, that was my thing.
Right.
I don't want to be an on-call
right.
Someone.
And how good is your work going to be if you're having to look over your shoulder wondering, oh goodness, here he is calling me, and So we took all that off of the burden of that, and then we just basically said, okay, if you'll work 1 or 2 pharmacy shifts, so that we could book you to cover one of our stores, cover a vacation, a day off, whatever, and then we'll give you some administrative time. Are you able to take that and then be able to use all the other time in your week to do your private stuff? Because again, we had to balance because you also have another career
outside of this.
Correct. Yeah. Because she has some obligations with some other companies and things like that. So, was it perfect? No. Did we negotiate it back and forth? Yes, a lot. And, I don't know what we don't know. So we agreed like, hey, we're going to go for 6 months. And then we're going to go back and review and say, hey, we're really happy with all this content. Like, we have, more than we expected. And if we don't, maybe we revisit it. Maybe we look at it and say, hey, on administrative stuff, if we're going to get this amount, we feel like maybe less hours is comparable or fair, and negotiate all that out. But this has never been done before.
You got to try it.
And But I think if we're on the forefront, I'm a big believer, and I always have been, in pharmacy. When I owned pharmacies, I've always believed, like, there's so many people that just go to where pharmacy is. So, like, Wayne Gretzky, famous hockey player, his dad actually said one of his son's greatest attributes was the ability to skate to where the puck is going, not to where the puck is. Yeah. That's what made his son, Wayne, one of the best hockey players ever. I love that quote, but I also liked, okay, if I go where pharmacy's going, right, where I see it going, I'm going to get there before a lot of people. And for the for-profit world, that's how you make money while everybody ain't making money there. When everybody gets there,
there's nothing else.
Right.
Market saturated, it's over with.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like that in a lot of businesses, right? So I had a knack for doing that to a certain degree, with some success, which is great. So in the nonprofit, again, it's about education. It's not about advertising. If you educate patients, they'll find you. So you have to be able to do it. So for her, that was the whole draw, is like how
you can actually get this message out there, talking to the people
exactly
in a way that people actually want to watch it.
Yes.
Versus it being like a website with here's steps 1, 2, 3, and I don't want to read this because the paragraph.
Yeah.
But you make a fun little video with it, and it's like, I'll watch a 15-second video, or I'll watch 30 seconds.
But how many people like me, right, the average Joe business owner, you pay all this money to host a website. Yeah. Who's going to websites anymore?
Yeah, it's very brief. I mean, you're not staying on there long.
But all that money going to somebody, and then you're paying a monthly fee for it to be hosted and to be maintained. Whereas all of these folks that are doing what's next, which is the people that are making content creation and doing all these wonderful things on social media, that's where this is going. Yeah. And I'm hoping to get there first before all of the other healthcare entities, whether that be private, public, nonprofit, whatever, because they're going to have to wise up to it and pay people. To be able to, because that's where everybody is. Yeah. Nobody is logging on to our website right now, but there's thousands of people on social media right now just going through arbitrarily everything. Yeah. Looking at whatever pops up. Yeah. And so, which I think is brilliant. I know a lot of folks my age are either really pro or really con, but I mean, I'm more on the pro side. I think
why not embrace it?
Like, what am I going to do about it, right? It's coming whether I...
whether...
it's here,
Yeah, that's all. Yeah. I just thought I wanted to talk about it, because I was like, that's an interesting... I saw you, said I hired someone. I'm like, that's an interesting... I didn't expect that. I was like, that's unique.
Your timing was perfect, because I had actually been just kind of,
working through all the deals and stuff.
All that stuff, yeah. And it was so funny because, when I was taking this idea to like our president, when I first told him, he, his thing is like, well, we actually have people that build our website. We pay the news to come in and shoot commercials and all this stuff. And so I was looking at him just like I was like, this is exactly why I'm telling you we need this person. All that stuff.
Nobody's watching the 5 o'clock news.
Nobody is. Right? Especially in the 25 to 40 age bracket, which is her, bread and butter. Is, and those people are the people that really need health care. They really need to be educated on what the options are. And they're probably the worst at taking care of themselves because they feel like they're going to live forever.
Yep.
Right? And so, so that's in my opinion, that's who we need to be educating. And
you're not targeting them through the news. You're not targeting
them. We pay all kinds of money to be on the billboard at ball games. And we pay all this money, to do these TV commercials. And like you said, the people that need us are not watching the 5 o'clock news. They're working.
You're getting me off from that. It's not. It's not.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And they're probably been with their doctor for 40 years. Yeah. They're not leaving to come find us. But if we come up on your FYP or we come up, on a random
whatever it is,
that you're going to be like, hold up, like. I've been thinking about that, or I had this thing happen, or whatever. That's pretty neat. Let me look at that. Especially if it engages you and entertains you.
Yeah.
And then even better, because then you're like, I've never seen that before. Like, a funny twist on.
Yeah, if you can grab that attention span.
Yeah.
It changes the whole game.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's really interesting. I'm curious to talk to you more maybe later when I see how everything goes. I am curious. Where did you grow up? Where did it all start from? Because talk kind of now where you're at, but what did kind of got you here? So where'd you grow up at?
Oh goodness. So I grew up in three places really. So Lugoff, South Carolina, which is near Camden.
Yeah.
About 45 minutes outside of Columbia. Mm-hmm. Lugoff was kind of my breaking in ground, right?
Okay.
And so I was definitely not a good kid, right? So we've kind of worked this backwards because now you see me as a professional and so let me tell you how this thing started.
So how did we get here?
Right. So when I was growing up in Lugoff, I had a friend of mine, and he and I were basically like on the do not fly list of our neighborhood, right? We were that couple of kids that and I would be shocked if my own kids didn't tell you this because they already know all these stories, but just a few examples. Mm-hmm. So before third grade, I had set about 17 acres of woods on fire. Mm-hmm. I had broken out not one window, but every ground floor window of my elementary school with rocks during a summer day. That took me like hours, almost threw my arm out. Because that's hard to do, to throw. You know how many windows there are in an elementary school? The bottom floor?
Quite a few.
Yeah. Broke them all out.
That's dedication.
That's commitment,
that's resilience.
Right? I think I probably took a lunch, and finished up, right? And this was all again before the third grade. And my I think the one that really got the attention of like the juvenile detention center and stuff was me and this same buddy. We decided we were mad at his younger sister. Yeah. So we decided to lock her in his treehouse, and we set it on fire. Right. So not as strong. She survived. She actually fell out the window. She, as the smoke started boiling, she came out the window.
As one does.
Yeah. And I got picked up for that one. Me and my buddy did the fire trucks that responded to the scene. Obviously got us, and we got in a lot of trouble for that one. But so I started out very poorly. I was just a bad kid. Yep. Always looking for. My entertainment and my fun was found in like other people's misery, right? Like I was just a troublemaker. And when you partner a troublemaker with another troublemaker, it's not twice the trouble. It's like you're wanting to exponentially increase.
You're trying to top the other person every time.
By how many ever fold you think you can get by with. So fortunately, in third grade, we moved to Kentucky for a short time. So that disbanded, or else my future
separated.
This would have been a jailhouse interview.
Very questionable.
Versus
still interesting.
So I moved to Kentucky. We spent a few years there. My dad actually was a chemical engineer, and so he worked for DuPont. and DuPont had just a tendency to move their engineers. And so Lugoff to Kentucky, stayed there for 3 or 4 years, kind of settled down as a kid, started racing motorcycles. That was kind of my pastime. So I got to, I guess, push out a lot of that aggression and stuff through something that was more physical. I don't know.
Yeah, kind of actual something to go do.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, take it out on the on a dirt track, right? And so then after I think it was like 6th grade, 3 years, we moved back to Florence.
Okay.
And so Florence was middle school, and so came back, got into middle school in Florence, finished out high school there.
How was your grades through that? Like academically wise, were you okay, off, kind of up and down?
No, there was no up.
No up.
It was all down. Matter of fact, like when I was a kid, they had this thing called LD. Do you know? It's for learning disabled.
Oh, okay.
And so I was in that. It would be more like a special needs class now, right?
Okay.
But they didn't have ADD, ADHD. I was just a bad kid with ADD, so I wouldn't pay attention and I wouldn't behave. So the teacher would be like, "There's a problem with him. Go put him over there."
Yeah.
Right. So, which was great because I was doing 3-piece puzzles. I was hanging out all day. All my buddies were stressing about math, and I was like,
I had juice boxes and crackers.
I was living like that.
Some Lincoln Logs to put together.
Yeah, and the thing that got me was when I got into 5th grade. It was the first time I can remember the politics of school. They had class representatives, and they had the class treasurer.
Yeah.
So I remember distinctly. I was like, I want to run for office. Like, why not?
Yeah.
Right? That sounds cool. And the president of the school,
pretty open with all this.
Let me check my calendar. Wide open. So I was like, I want to run. And so I told my special ed teacher, my LD teacher, Miss Miller, still remember her to this day. I said, hey, I want to do it. She's like, well, I think that's great. Go tell the principal. And so I went and told the principal. The principal was like, no, you can't. I was like, well, I want to, I can't run. Yeah. No, you can't run. And they were like, you can't, you're an LD. You can't run. This is for the students. Yeah. And so I was like, okay, well, and I go home and I think I told my mom she was like, what's wrong with you or something? And I said, I'm upset because, I wanted to run for class president. Well, why don't you run for class president? Well, they told me I couldn't. And, then my mom marches up to the school. What's my boy got to do? Run. And they were like, well, he can't be here. And so I said, okay, well, just put me back over there. Yeah. I'm okay to, if I got to behave to be a class president.
I guess I will.
Yeah. So sure enough, what happens? I run. I won. and then I was integrated back into regular classes. And so my grades were always average, right? So the 5th grade average, middle school average, high school average, definitely. I think I graduated with a C average in high school. And I went to Francis Marion.
Okay.
And I was there. I really didn't have any plan whatsoever. My part-time job was I was a tire changer for a tire place called Palmetto Tire, and I really thought this was going to be a future for me, right?
Yeah.
Until I really started paying attention to the people that I was working with, and then you start thinking, I wonder if I want to do this for the rest of my life, right? Yeah. Not saying anything bad about tire changers. They provide a wonderful service. But, you just start looking at wow, what is my life going to look like in 5 years, 10 years? I'm in college. I don't need college for this. You're just trying to figure all that out. So, at Francis Marion, I actually started, just taking basic classes, and I had a natural affinity for chemistry and physics, right? Nothing else.
Did that come from anywhere throughout childhood anywhere?
No.
It just kind of randomly appeared that it was
yes,
kind of science path.
Yeah, the other thing I can claim to fame is I could set anything on fire.
Oh yeah.
And so as a child,
chemistry was really fun then.
I figured out colognes, flammable.
Mm-hmm.
So I would steal all my mom's perfume and my dad's colognes.
Yeah, get the hairspray and just
yeah. But I learned that in 3rd grade. Yeah. So that was my only claim to fame there. But other than that, I just felt like when I was in class, I was a little bit more engaged, right? I would do a little better I was a little bit more prone to study, do better in tests. And so I just kind of was like, hey, this is actually not too difficult for me and I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Well, from there, I got another part-time job at a pharmacy, So I went from the tire changing business to the pharmacy.
Yeah.
And again, this was all before I decided anything about pharmacy. I just got this part-time job.
Just looking for something to do.
Yeah, just looking for something to do. And I think what made me gravitate to this particular one was it was an independent pharmacy, and I liked the hours. Because it was like more Monday through Friday, like 9 to 12 on Saturday. I didn't have all these wonky hours like I would if I would have worked at like Walmart or
whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So I started working there, and the guy that owned the store was named Tenny Moss, and that guy was like a huge mentor for me. He was a phenomenal guy. He was very patient with me. He was very like just a molding type of guy. Right? Like he would take your bad and he would gently kind of like nudge you, but he would take your positives, which weren't that positive, and he would make you feel great about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so after about a year working there, Tenny actually said, well, like, how's school going? He knew I was at Francis Marion. I was like, yeah, I mean,
I'm there.
Seemingly like I'm going, and it seemed like, okay. And he's like, well, have you ever thought about pharmacy? And I was like, well, I mean, I love what I do here. I'm ringing out customers. I'm getting milk and filling up the milk cooler and stuff. I was like, I do like that. And he's like, you really should consider it. And then he would kind of continue that. So then he said, hey, let me see where you're at Francis Marion. He looked and he's like, I think you're far enough. You need to apply, right, to Francis Marion or to pharmacy school.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I got like I might have whatever the bottom rung of being able to apply to pharmacy school, which I think at the time might have been a 2.5, maybe a 3.
Like a C plus average.
Right, C plus average, right, solid, right, but average.
Yeah.
And I remember just being like, oh my goodness, you gotta be kidding me. There ain't no way, like really, maybe another year. Let me like hone in on this craft and see if I can ramp it up a little bit.
Yeah.
But he was like, no, I think, give it a shot. Worst thing that can happen is they say no this year. But you need to apply because if they see your name more, so I was like, you know what? Why not? Send my stuff in. Lo and behold, and again, this is way before online applications and stuff. You send everything in paper.
Yeah.
Send it in. Lo and behold, I get this letter. It says you're invited for an interview. Sure. And I was like, holy cow. I was like, here we go.
Yeah.
I go down there for my interview. And just to give you a piece of how this went is they basically take you down and you're meeting with these different professors. They're asking you a bunch of just questions, psychologically, like reading in between the lines, all that stuff. And then you have this meeting with the some faculty and the dean. And then you're going for your like application interview after lunch. During lunch, the dean sits down right beside me here, and I'm a nervous wreck because I have a shirt on, a tie, a jacket, everything. I'm like crisp. And lo and behold, I have this sandwich. For whatever reason, I've taken it and flipped it over so the mayonnaise and stuff is here, and the meat and everything is here. And I lean and I go like this, and I hit the plate, and the plate just goes just right on me. Like the mayonnaise mustard goes right here. And I cover it up, kind of play it off. I don't know that the dean saw it, didn't see it. But I have a perfect square
mustard
condiments, on my chair. This is before the big interview, so I have to go. So what was my answer? I guess at this point I might have been 19, 20. I go into the restroom, and what I thought was the best idea was to just absolutely cover myself with hand soap and wash. So I go into the first interview, and it was a young lady, a professor, and she's glued to like my chest because it looks like I have sweated
completely through your shirt,
and undershirt.
Yeah.
And so it took me a little bit to explain to her, hey, this is a mess, but like just believe it or not, what happens? I get a thing. It says I'm accepted, and then I go to pharmacy school. The crazy thing is, fast forward about probably 10 years. I'm out. I'm working. Tenny Moss calls me out of the blue.
Yeah.
And I'm talking to him, and I said, Tenny, can I ask you something? And he said, yeah. I said, did you get me into pharmacy school? He said, uh-huh. I said, so nothing. And he said, all the stuff with the interview and you getting stuff all over you, he knew about it. Yeah. They evidently called him.
He's like, this guy is like spilling mustard on his shirt. This is who you want.
Yeah. But you know what I didn't know? The greatest part of that story, Tenny Moss at the time was the president of the entire state board of pharmacy. He never told me that. Mm. So if you're running the entire board of pharmacy, you're overseeing all the pharmacists in South Carolina. Yep. If that guy makes a phone call, right, odds are
it matters a lot.
It matters a lot. And so so I think the school probably called him and said, "Hey, like this guy is a hot mess." I mean, like he went into his interview with 2 tablespoons full of condiments on his chest, and he probably was just like, "Hey, like just take my word for it, he'll be okay." And here we were, and he admitted to it. I was probably out of pharmacy school 5 or 6 years, and he told me,
like,
yeah.
So that's funny.
Yeah. So that, and then when I got here today, you saw I had a bow tie.
Uh-huh.
Well, where I got the bow tie from was Peter Edwards, which was a professor of mine. Mm-hmm. He took me under his wing, and one of the first things he told me is I would show up to school, and I would be like. I would have like a t-shirt on, maybe a cut off sleeves, jeans, jean shorts, whatever. Yep. Oblivious to the fact of like some of my colleagues were dressed like this. Nice shirt,
sharp,
dress pants, that stuff. And he took me to the side and he's like, "Do you want to be here?" I'm like, "I do want to be here." And he's like, "You're not going to make it." Yep. And I'm like, "Huh?" And he's like, "You got to look like you want to be here if people are going to take you serious." And we just kind of started a relationship. In one of the first meetings, I was in his office, and he opened his desk drawer, and he threw a few bow ties across the thing. And he said, "I want you to start wearing these all the time." And I was like, "I don't know how to tie that." He goes, "I'll teach you." He showed me how to do it, helped me out through that. And so since, like, that was probably 92, in my entire professional career, I wear a bow tie every day. And he's long past now, but it's just something that always stuck with me because he always ingrained, like, if you're going to be it, you definitely have to look like it. You're not going to fool anybody by saying you're one thing and not looking it. Look it and be it. And so that kind of resonated with me.
Yeah, I have to you got to fit the part.
Yeah.
In a sense, that's so
and so much so that I think if I didn't wear one, people would think professionally either I'm sick, something horrible happened, because even when I see people outside of work, they assume I wear a bow tie all the time. And I'm like, no, I don't wear a bow tie like anywhere but work.
I actually dress up all the time.
So when I showed up here, you let me take my bow tie off.
I was like,
but that's why I wear a bow tie.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was kind of curious on why, but I mean, normally it seems like everyone has a preference between a tie and a bow tie.
Right.
It seems like you either go one way or the other.
Yeah.
And it's like,
yeah.
Everyone has their own.
I don't know. Like I probably can't tie a tie. Like It's been forever since I've tied a tie. Maybe I could do it. I don't know because I just haven't done it. But I can tell you this: I think I probably have 300 bow ties. God. But I have like 0 that I know of ties unless they're stuck somewhere.
Under,
like under all of those.
Yeah.
But I've amassed just a tremendous amount, and some of them I've probably had for my whole career. But
that's pretty cool. Tenny, that's how you say
Tenny.
Right. So Tenny, clearly a big role model and everything. How much because your dad, chemical engineer.
Yeah.
How much were they kind of pushing or not, like, to, maybe go to college, go to pharmacy, go do, like, were they an influence in that? Or like, were they kind of more hands off?
And after I told you the first part of how I started so poorly.
Yeah.
Like, I think my parents were probably conservative and they were like,
just don't go to jail.
Right. Like, maybe early on they thought, yeah, he's definitely going to be dealing drugs. Yeah. They didn't realize that maybe I was legally going to do it, right? Yeah. But I think that I don't remember there ever being a push, right? Like, I just remember always, whether I was playing a team sport or whether I was in school, it was just, do your best, right? There wasn't like a benchmark I had to hit. There was always some like goals to reach and stuff, but there was never like, hey, you've got to hit A's and you've got to do this. Or
you need to become an engineer.
Correct. There was no pressure there.
Yeah.
I think ultimately it was clear that they wanted me to be able to provide for myself. So if that was going to be a tire changer, I got to figure out how to parlay that into a career.
How can you be the best tire changer, or make a living from tire changing, whatever it is.
Yeah, maybe one day make it into the sales floor. Yeah. Right? That's where all the big money seemed to be then. But I never really, that was never discouraged. But at the same time, I think with the pharmacy career, I do remember distinctly there was a lot of not doubt, but definitely some reservations. Like, I don't know, like, this sounds pretty tough. Like, this is one step under a doctor. Yeah. And that's not easy, right? So I think there was some reservations, some conservative, like, I hope he,
Yeah, I hope that goes well.
Right, I hope it goes well. Otherwise, he's definitely going to be back. I hope that job at Palmetto Tire is still open. Yeah. But I never really felt like, this was all kind of a natural, organic thing that I was just kind of falling forward.
Really self-motivated path of,
I knew that I was built for something, like, in terms of service, and I always liked being around people. Yeah. And one thing I didn't like about what my dad did was I didn't really understand anything about chemical engineering. Mm-hmm. But he was always isolated in an office.
Sitting, looking at whatever the drawings are, or whatever it is, and doing, math, looking at...
Yeah, he would be, telling me this stuff, and I was just like, that is so not what I want to do. You're literally, how do you sit in an office for 8 hours, right? And like a lady or somebody brings you a coffee every 2 hours, and you're like, you don't move.
And it's a thank you, and then that's the, 2 words you say for the day.
Yeah. I was just like, I'm built for something in retail, dealing with people, different people, interacting, all that stuff. So it was just kind of a natural fit, right? Yeah. And I knew early on in pharmacy school, sometimes in pharmacy school, like at MUSC at the time, there was a little bit of a push about, hey, you could use pharmacy to actually branch into, they would identify, maybe you go into medicine. Mm-hmm. Maybe you go into dentistry. Maybe you go into, because you're taking classes with a lot of these guys. Yeah. I knew in my first anatomy class
that wasn't like.
I was like, I don't want to see this. I don't want to be around this. I don't want to touch people. Yeah. So for the rest of the time, I had my girlfriend sign me into that class because I was like, I cannot
bring the cadaver out, and it was
I'm
gone.
I was like, I'm not going to look at another boil or another, anything. Like, that ain't me. So I just knew then, like, okay, I don't really want to deal with people's teeth.
Try to branch out into something else.
So I know, like, medicine's it. I don't have to touch people. Mm-hmm. Like, I can affect them positively with medicine. I just have to know what I'm doing, but I don't have to, you don't have to take nothing off. Yeah. Like, we can be right here with our shirts on and everything's good. I'll take your money. Yeah. I'll give you medicine. It's all good.
All day. What was the first day like when you show up to pharmacy school? Is it pharmacy school? Like, actually, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So show up there.
Yeah.
What was that kind of? I mean, do you have like some intimidation factor? Was it like
what I underestimated and I would probably assume that this is a lot in a lot of medical professions in school. You show up and you realize very quickly that you are with the most competitive people you will ever be with. Mm-hmm. In terms of scholastically. Yeah. It was literally like going from a high school sport to a college team. Now you're playing with some real killers. Right? High school, you always got a few people that are just out there because mom likes.
If he catches the ball, it's whatever.
Right? Yeah. Like if I'm up by 30, like put him in. Right? Yeah. But when you get to places like that, everybody has the same. They're super talented, and everybody wants to play. Everybody wants to start. Mm-hmm. Right? And so when I got there, it was very shocking. Francis Marion. I mean, come on. At the time, it wasn't even a university. It was college. Yeah. So like you're going and. Like, Francis Marion is happy you're there. Yeah. You go to MUSC and that's the flagship university of South Carolina. Yeah. And so, and everybody that is there they are willing to poke your eye out if it means getting
one step up.
Yes. Yeah. So I remember, the funny thing about pharmacy school is true to form, I get there and I'm a little overwhelmed by wow, this is a lot of work. I got to study. Yeah. I wanted to go and experience all the bars in Charleston. Yeah. Right? Thought that would be the great thing.
Sounds like a great first day
for the first day. But you were coming out of the blocks in a dead sprint. I think the first semester, we had 21 hours. right? Like, and most people get acclimated to college at what, 12, 14?
12,
you got 16, 17, you feel like, I'm not going to make it.
Yeah.
Like, it was, so it was a ton of stuff and just so much work that I was like, not ready for that. So I struggled that first, year. When I figured out, like, how to balance and budget my time and my life, man, like,
changed everything.
Oh, it's a game changer. So much so that, like, I had a professor that got me in a stairwell and accused me of cheating because they were like, hey, like, you were at the bottom of the bell curve. Now you're like over here busting the bell curve. Like, what happened? And I was like, I just learned, like, how to do this. It took me this long to figure it out. Now, it's not that difficult once you figure it out. He didn't believe me. He was just like, I think you're cheating. Yeah. And I'm going to figure out how you're, and I'm like, okay. All right. Right. I was like, all right, but I wasn't, I wasn't at all. I just figured out, like, I'm ingrained, I'm interested, I'm buying into what you're selling. I'm taking it all in and, and being able to memorize it, for my sake. Yeah. And from there, I just kind of went up and, was on the dean's list, the president's list, and finished strong. Yeah. But
what was the method that you kind of used to go through studying it all?
For me, it was just almost like a light coming on when I realized, like, hey, this is what I'm going to do. And when I realized that, it was almost like a light switch going on about I have to soak this up because people are depending upon me. So it's no different than, and I hate to go back to the team thing, but like when you're starting and you're in the huddle and the coach is drawing out the play.
Everyone else is counting on you that you know what you're doing.
Correct. Because if I don't go right and he tells me to go right, and for some reason I just took a left and blow the whole play up and we don't score, that's on me. And I just immediately when that clicked, the classes became very like just highly focused. I could listen to the professor. I was understanding it. And so for me, just the genuine interest I had in the subject material made all the difference in the world. I went from memorizing something to, like, learning and understanding it. And once you know that, like, it changes the game. For me, it did.
Right? Well, I think going from the memorizing it and regurgitating it is something that's, I think most people can kind of manage that. The understanding the why something's happening and actually understanding the process of, I can do the math formula, but I don't understand why I'm doing it. Or I don't understand why, this reaction causes this, whatever it may be. Yeah. It's a completely different world than just being able to, I can sit here, I can look at a flashcard, and I can learn it after about 2 hours if I go through the whole deck. Right. Like, it's not the same.
Right. And I think for me, it was like, okay, when you understand the mechanism of action of anything, right? But for me, with medicine, is if you understand how that thing, once it's in the body, what it's doing, then you can work that thing backwards, forwards. You can work it through the organs. You can, because you know how it's metabolized. You know how that. But like what would happen would, but a lot of students, they try to remember all that stuff separately. Yeah. If this happens, this has got to happen. If this, no. Like, I'm not going to remember all that, but I know how this thing works. So the rest of it just falls in place. Yep. It's just a cascading series of events. Once you know, then the rest of it makes sense. So if somebody comes up and has a kidney issue, okay, well, this is what you can't do because I know how that works. But so that to me just made stuff super easy. So test taking is no more than deducing, like, this is the only one that makes sense. Yeah. Understanding what this drug is doing, what it's not doing, it's got to be B. Right? I wasn't trying to memorize, like, when people were buying 14 sample tests and trying to all these things.
Remember all the...
Yeah.
Yeah. That's... Yeah. Did you do that through, like, was it like flashcards, like like what was kind of like, how'd you go about how'd you go about the learning process? So for me, what I did, unlike a lot of my colleagues, is a lot of times people were either trying to tape. At the time, the only thing you didn't have, like, transcripted things, but you could the hand. Yeah, they would tape them, or you would see people that would be feverishly, like, just trying to every note,
everything that came out of that guy or girl's mouth. Yeah,
it's like, I don't think you need, like, the A and the D and the
Yes, like, but you would see people. I'm like, how are you, like, you can't even be on the same, like 2 minutes of this guy because he's continuing going, but people were like getting carpal tunnel syndrome writing. I would just literally watch, and things that I felt like I didn't know, I would shorthand. So I basically started learning shorthand. I would just make a couple, so in 5 or 6 characters, I would have a paragraph of what was going on. So I would just take a series of those. So in a lecture where somebody might write 15 pages of notes, I might have 10 bullet points. And those things might have 5 to 8 characters. All I would do is after that, I wasn't worried. What kills me is why do people take notes on stuff they already know? Like, why are you writing that down? So I just, I'd go back home. I'd be like, well, these 10 points, and I would try to review and find in my notes. Okay, learn a little bit more about that. That makes sense. Scratch it off my list. Because now I understand I didn't realize that, that thing. So for me, just being engaged in the speaker, right, is because when I watch a show that I'm engaged in, I can regurgitate the entire thing, right? Like I'm watching a series right now. And I'm 21 episodes deep. I could probably tell you the whole thing because I'm engaged in it. If I'm not, like when it's over, I couldn't tell you how it ended. So once I figured that out, I'm listening, I'm watching, I'm intent, and then on the things I didn't know that, I would just write a little thing, and then I would sit there and he might go 6 paragraphs. I didn't know that. Maybe even ask him like, hey, could you say that one more time because I wasn't aware of that. And then, of course, any professor loves for somebody to
please let me talk more about what.
Yeah, exactly. They're never short on words, especially if they realize somebody's paying attention and interested enough to say, "Hey, can you explain that?" That. And so, do that, and then I would take, and again, like what people were taking out volumes in, I would just have a short
1 page of
thing,
whatever the question.
And then I would go back through that, make sure I shored up on that. And then the other thing I think that kept my interest is one thing I was generally interested in, and I carry over to interviewing today, is everybody has nuances of how they communicate. Professors have a unique way. I don't know if it's subconsciously or what, but every professor that I have ever sat gives away things that you're going to see later. And what I mean by that is they'll either circle back to it, like subconsciously they're wanting to
talk about it more, keep discussing it,
or give you literally the answer is intertwined in a bunch of stuff. Or they'll, some professors are like, hey, you're going to see this again, right? That's an easy one, right? But a lot of times I've found that they'll explain it in different ways of like, if this happens, that happens, and you see that again. And that captured my interest because I was trying to figure out like, that's it. Like I'm going to see that. But in interviews, I use that same kind of technique because like very early on, if I'm interviewing a candidate, I kind of pick up on not real comfortable with that because it's explained away or that's not really the answer. So some of those things I've even used, currently because of just the way people communicate. We're all different. I'm sure I give away a lot, right? But I mean, isn't there a whole criminal investigation unit that does that?
Looks at the speech patterns and all the dialect you use.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think that's interesting. I always find it interesting on how people actually go about their learning process.
Yeah.
Because it's very tailored. Like it's a very tailored process to everyone. It's not. It's very rare. I mean, as rarely as you think it would be. Like everyone does 1, 2, or 3.
Right.
And they pick one. It's very unique how like you do it. How I've gone about it. I've talked to my dad about how he's done it.
Yeah.
It's just like. I've always found I've been more of a question person.
Yeah.
And so it's not the same thing of being shorthand, but the same of like, what's the why there or why is that reacting?
Yep.
In that way, it's more like a quiz almost.
Yeah.
I've always.
Yeah.
So it's unique that it's kind of like, it's similar, but it's not the same.
Yeah, no. It's cool. Like I said, I mean, I wish that I would have developed it. I didn't develop it. It just kind of fell into place because... I mean, and it's true, is I've always been told, you find time and you dedicate resources to stuff that's important to you, right? Regardless of what it is.
Yeah.
That is so true in curriculum and school and those kind of things. Also, it is in athletics and professional life. But for me, when it became important, right, and I realized that, my whole intentionality changed.
Yep.
Is then I was like, okay, this is a great story,
mm-hmm.
right? That is going to be me. So it's in my best interest to really harness what this guy or girl is telling me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just like it would be if it was a capturing episode of a show I like or a book I'm reading. You know, that's why people, it always, even with my own children, I can't remember this, I can't memorize this, but yet, like in the summertime, they read a novel and I'm sitting there listening to something for 30 minutes because I'm getting the synopsis from a book they read.
Yeah.
What's the difference? The difference is they were engaged, like in everything of this cliffhanger page turner they're reading.
Yeah.
You give them 500 pages of
notes to go through, and it's like, I don't really want to.
Right. Exactly. I don't want to remember any of it because I don't want any of it. I don't have any intention of you know, and so I don't know what you do with that. Yeah. But for me, like the whole game changed for me when it came to that.
How much do you think that was like ADD, ADHD finally having like something to hyper focus on?
Yeah, I mean, probably. I certainly think in my younger years, again, you know, ADD, but also I think some of that is just my lack of prioritizing. Right. When you get older, you realize how important prioritizing and discipline is, and those things are literally intertwined. I don't care what people, you know, say about it. Is that to me, prioritizing anything and then having the discipline to do it day in and day out is like the game changer. Right now, can people with ADD and ADHD do that? They certainly can, and they do. You know, but everybody can do it, even if you don't have that. You know, but how many people do it? You know, successful people seem to harness it pretty good. People that don't, you know, that complain about all that's not working out well for them or how they're being held back by someone or something. A lot of times if you dig down a little bit, it's like, how much are you like prioritizing and disciplining yourself to be better at, you know, this? And I see that a lot in healthcare. You know, there's some entitlement, you know, because, you know, providers, mid-levels, doctors, they work very hard to get where they're at. You know, but I think sometimes the challenge goes away and there's some complacency and there's some deprioritization and stuff like that. But nurses suffer it, pharmacists suffer from it, you know, all of us do. And it's that constant, you know, I mean, that's what makes great players great, right? Good players will play until the effort gets difficult. Great players make people that are good pay for it, right? Because they just continue to, you know, to be prioritizing and disciplined enough to carry it out. Same thing's happening in professional life. People that really do well.
Well, especially in this kind of field, medical field, it's very much a, you know, I'm the best. Like, it's not, I don't know, it gets a little bit demonized of like, I want to be the best. And it's like, oh, well, you shouldn't do that. You know, you shouldn't say that. And it's like, well, I don't know. There's something. Well, and I don't have any motivation to like be greater, you know. You know, none of us need to. If everyone acted like Michael Jordan, nothing would ever get done. Right. But you need a Michael Jordan. You need you need someone that's willing to go out there and say, no, you need to be better. Like,
well, like for instance, I'll give you an example. I just had this conversation last week with somebody. They just sent out at our company. We have 200 and some odd employees. They sent out a thing for everybody to vote for the yearly employee of the year. I said, you should vote for yourself. I can't do that. If you can't vote for yourself as the employee of the year, then are you doing everything that you can to be the employee of the year? Nobody knows if you were good enough to be the employee of the year more than you do. And if you're getting up every day and trying to be the best employee that you can be, daggone it, you should be able to vote for yourself to be employee of the year. Right? Doesn't mean you're going to get it. Nobody else in the company may agree with you, but you should. You should.
I certainly feel like
I'm getting up. Right. And I think some of we get lost a lot in that because that's not a bragging statement. It just needs to be true in our heart. Is that if I feel like I've done the best I can do, right? And in my business, sometimes I do the best I can do, and it's still not enough.
That's fine. Right? That's part of it.
That's part of it. You know, it's just like losing a basketball game. If I played my heart out and did everything I could and we still lost, that's okay. But if I didn't give my best and if I didn't prioritize my teammates and all those things, then some of that's on me.
Yeah, not only that, but it's part of like the drive. It's like, okay, why is John doing better than what's John doing?
Correct.
That I can't catch up to.
Right.
You know, like what's
right.
You know,
and at least let John beat me. But don't just lose and roll over because you don't want to work hard.
Be like, right. I didn't do it.
Right. Yeah. And that's why I'm convinced. More so, like my dad's generation.
Uh-huh. Is that like boomer?
Well, he passed away and he was 81. So he was born in 43. So that would be the pre-boomer generation.
Yeah, pretty close.
So he, they prided themselves and hung their hat on just pure work. Blue collar, white collar, whatever, right? Yeah. You just assumed you were not out working these guys, right? So then you have the next generation, more of the wartime, a little bit more hostility, a little more stuff going on, a little bit more freedom added, right? Yeah. So then you get to kind of my generation, and here we've dumbed it down some to where we wanted to work smarter, not harder. Mm-hmm. Now what I'm seeing is this generation now, which is your generation, is that we have even continued to soften that to a certain degree. Yeah. So what's happening is that the people that figure this out and really just outwork people are going to be your next millionaires, because they're going to just be fleecing
next people in charge,
left and right.
Moving up people.
Yes.
It's it's interesting to watch, you know, over time. Like, it's almost like before. It seems like before 2000. Like 2000 seems like a hard cutoff of like where, like
some of this changed.
It's like pre 2000 to like 2004. It's like 3 different generations, because you go pre 2000 and it's very dedicated people that are going to wake up. If I have to work 15 hours a day, I'm working 15 hours. Is what it is.
Right.
I don't care about work-life balance. I don't care about leaving. I don't care about any of that. And then you have, I guess millennials are kind of the 90s.
Yeah.
And that's where it's more like, oh, I should go enjoy life, because if I retire at 60, well, or, you know, whatever it is, 65, whatever it may be, I guess I only have, you know, so many years left.
Right.
And I should probably enjoy it while I'm going through it.
Yeah.
And then you kind of have, I think 2000s, you have a mix. You have people that now have parents that are from the, you know, some of them are from the hard, I'm going to do everything.
Right.
And you have some that are from and you have millennial and like kind of, I don't want to say softer, but different parenting styles. Yeah. I'll say that. And then you get a mix. And then you have post 2005 that are like all kind of COVID children.
Yeah.
And it's like, they have no work ethic. It's like, it's like, not, like I can look at, you know, people a couple years below me, and it's like, dude, what do you do? Yeah. Like, this is not a hard thing to like go to class.
But
like,
in that formative time, they didn't.
Yeah.
They had like 4 years off.
Yeah.
I mean, like we still have people playing sports off of COVID.
Yeah.
And it's like, this guy's like 30. Like he shouldn't still be in college, you know? But yeah, to your point, I mean, they had that big, huge stopgap of time that they just were like, nothing's happening, you know?
Yeah, and it's like you didn't have the social interaction. You didn't have like any really hard deadline almost of like, you know, it's more leniency. And I mean, yes, there need to be some, and yes, like you got to accommodate where you accommodate, but it's like, dude, like, just do it. Like, it's not
right.
Like, you know, if we're doing a group project or we're doing, you know, like, why is this such a complicated thing to like just do your piece? Like, I'm not asking you to do the whole project, not asking you, but it's like the pull your weight factor.
Yeah,
I think that's the like most insane part.
Yes,
like,
well, and like what we see, like even in healthcare, but in certainly other fields, is like once. In even in that age range, but in those people that were in school, but even in the range of people that experience being able to work remotely, right, like that are my age, like those people still want an excuse. right? And you're like, hey, like we were doing telehealth when people weren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, we have 8 offices. You can work at any of them, right? But they don't, because they're like, well, I don't really feel comfortable going back into an office because I've been able to go, and work remotely.
I can go to Florida and I can work from Florida.
Yes, yes. And we still have providers to this day that are telehealth employees, because that's just where, that they are, and that's where they've gravitated to, and they're very comfortable in that space. They want to continue in that.
But I think there's a lot of room for hybrid. That's what I see as like the future of working.
Yeah.
I don't see a point of having a giant office of 100 people or whatever it may be.
For sure.
And it's like, all right, I need everyone to show up to work. Especially with like, a lot of things we do is we're working across the country.
Right.
I'm not talking to anyone, really. I might talk to 1, 2 people in Greenville, but everyone else is in, New York.
Right.
Wherever they are. It's like, why am like the office factor? It's harder. It's harder to be like all right, you need to show up as a, you need to be in the office every day so you get saw by people, your boss, like, oh yeah, he's showing up.
Right.
But now it's kind of like, I just need to be on the Zoom. Like,
right.
You need to be on the Zoom meeting almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the positives I think that did come to that is like so much of what we were doing physically can be done in an email, a Teams message, a Teams meeting, or a Zoom thing, right? So I do think from a asset purchasing, perspective and a balance sheet issue, that definitely, if it's harnessed and used well, it can be advantageous for companies, because you can really reallocate that money into like more production, more stuff that matters, payroll, product, all that stuff. So yes, I think that where people got it confused was they misinterpreted the ability to work remotely as to putting out less output.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you're getting paid for 40 and you're realistically working 20-ish, right? Like inevitably that's where the rub is, I think. And I think that's where you see companies that are probably overreacting and saying, nope, I got to see you. Because you might not be doing anything, but I can see you doing nothing, right? That's not smart either. I think that's where the balance has got to be found.
Yeah, and I think it's probably hard from from a boss's perspective or from whatever it is. I think the only part that is complicated is the not human touch of talking to someone that you get from like a hybrid work.
Sure.
Of where if I want to check up on a project and I type in, how's this project going?
Yeah.
It may come off as just from a Teams message. It comes off differently from if I walk by your desk, just say, hey man, how's it going today? What's, whatever the phrasing is, to each person, but there's that like touch of, okay, they're not just checking up on me. Like, I'm not just getting, every time I see a ding, it's not like,
right.
It's like, all right, I might talk to you about like sports or whatever's going on for a couple minutes. And then you say, oh yeah, by the way, how's X, Y, and Z? And there's something to that. That's, I think, amazing to work culture. Like that's integral that you don't get.
Right.
But to your point, it's now like, if you can do telehealth and I can go to, on kind of work vacation and that's a great part too.
Right.
It's amazing.
I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just the evolution of what we're doing in all fields. But, and I don't think there's any way to put that genie back in a bottle. It's out.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of being able to harness it so that people have an adequate amount of output for what they're getting paid for.
Well, that's part of it. Show up, do your work. Correct. Don't make people question if you're doing it or not.
Exactly.
If you just show up and do it, it's not a problem. Right. I don't care if you're in Aruba you're cranking out your 40 hours, man.
Right.
Shoot, have fun at,
Exactly. Right. Yeah. And I think we've turned the page, and with healthcare, we're a little different animal in that we don't have, outside of telehealth, there's just not a lot there for us to do remotely. Yeah. So pharmacy's always going to be hands-on. You
can't really avoid it.
Right. You can avoid it. You can offshore a little bit of some of the processing part of it, but you can't, it's still very physical in its nature. But for all other fields, I 100% agree. My son, he's a computer programmer. And so he's like the only teammate, I think, in North Carolina at all. He's got teammates all over I think he's got a couple guys that he coordinates with that are overseas. Mm-hmm. So like he's got to take meetings at 2 a.m. because it's 9 a.m. somewhere else. Yeah. So I get it. And like you said, if the work's getting done, I don't know that we should really be hung up with a brick and mortar.
Who cares how it's done if it's getting done?
Yeah. Yeah. If the boss is making money, it's all good.
Yeah. So pharmacy school, you get through, you find your rhythm.
Yeah.
Is there a thing after that you go to, or do you go to like kind of work for someone right after that?
When I got out in 95, which is a long time ago, but when I got out, you basically there wasn't a lot of different veins of pharmacy. There is now. Mm-hmm. But for us, you either graduated and you went into hospital, retail, penitentiary, institutional. There's like 4 or 5 opportunities.
So just whatever sector kind of.
I was built for retail because, like I said, I did not want to be isolated with not interacting with folks. So hospital was off the table, right? Because I'd be in a room filling stuff and sending it up, for patients to take, right? Didn't want that. Retail was where I really felt the most comfortable. So I went right into there. Now they have residencies, they have all of these other things, and there's probably 50 facets of pharmacy now. There's all kind of nuclear,
specialized,
radiological, there's all kinds of stuff. But for me, there was like 5 options, and I knew right away.
That's what you wanted to do.
Yep. And so, I got married right out of pharmacy school. Mm-hmm. My wife's a pharmacist. So,
did y'all meet in pharmacy?
We did.
Okay.
Yeah, we knew each other the whole time. It took me a year to get up the nerve and be able to ask her out. And so we started dating our second year, got married after we graduated. But our main thing is we knew we wanted to live somewhere in between our parents. And at the time, her parents were in Kentucky. Mine were in Florence. Mm-hmm. So literally, we took out one of those old Rand McNally maps. And we did the little legend on the bottom. And we took it and we were like, looks like Greenville, South Carolina is like in between. Mm-hmm. So we started interviewing for positions and we ended up landing our first jobs were with Walmart.
Okay.
And so it was so funny because when I graduated, there was a big shortage of pharmacists. So great for the job market, right? Yep. So interviewing was easy, getting hired was easy.
Yeah.
I took a job at there used to be a Walmart on Lawrence Road.
Okay.
And I took that job as a pharmacist. Mm-hmm. Before I set foot in that pharmacy the first day, I had been promoted from a staff pharmacist to a senior pharmacist, and then I got promoted to being the manager before I ever set foot in there.
Wow.
And so finally I was like, wow, this job is like, I haven't even done anything. I'm proving myself, and I'm managing. Like, I got like a staff.
Yeah.
And it was because there was just such a shortage. It wasn't because they knew anything about me. They just knew I was breathing. And I was going to get a license, and they gave me keys to a store.
Yeah.
And so I started working right out of pharmacy school as a pharmacy manager. And that's like drinking out of a fire hose.
That's pluses and minuses.
I mean, I was like, well, I'm making more money than I thought I was. That's great. But I don't know how to deal with people. I don't know how to do a schedule. I barely schedule myself, right? And now I'm doing tech schedules. I'm, at Walmart, you run everything from the aisle back. So all that OTC stuff, like I had to figure all that out. And
so you're figuring out like ordering, scheduling, how to deal with people, how to deal with staff.
Like my ink is still like not dry on my diploma.
Yeah.
And I'm figuring all that out. How to work within, this big corporation and, the management of the corporation. I'm seen as a peer, and I know nothing.
I've never been in the real world.
Right. Other than tire changing and working for Tenny Moss. That was my old claim to fame. Yeah. And so like I'm thrown right into this. And so which is probably the best way for me to learn, to be honest with you, is I love my little side hobby. One is working on cars.
Yeah.
And a car is like great until it breaks.
Yeah.
Right. And so you're forced to deal with it and try to figure out what the best solution, safest solution, all that stuff is. Well, like when I got thrown into this, it was like, this is clearly broken. Yeah. And like, you just got to figure this out because there's nobody else coming. You just gotta work with these people. These are the people you're given, and these are your tools. Figure it out. And fortunately, I had enough good staff that I did. So I worked that store. That was my first claim to fame in pharmacy.
Yeah. What was going off your cars? What was the first car you had?
The first car I had was a '76 Chevy Nova. It was a 2-door.
Okay.
It was brown with a cream top that my dad found that literally a retired school teacher had.
That's funny.
And we nicknamed it the Casanova. It was bench seats.
Oh,
not even bucket seats, bench seats, two bench seats. It was 2-door, so the doors were like from me to you. Mm-hmm. They were huge. And but the thing was a tank.
I bet so.
Oh my goodness! I mean, I ditched it several times. Like ran off the road, went to ditch.
Yeah.
We would get it out like hardly a scratch. Mm-hmm. Right? It was slow as Christmas. It was, but the thing probably weighed 4,000 pounds. It's just a juggernaut of a beast. But the bad thing about that is my dad showed me. Do you know what a Pontiac Fiero is? Okay, so a Pontiac Fiero. We went and test drove a Pontiac Fiero used. I thought this would be great, like a sports car.
Pretty awesome.
15-year-old, right? This is awesome. I come home from practice. And I thought somebody's grandmother was in my driveway because it was this brown Nova with the cream top. I go in and I'm like looking for somebody. Nobody's there. And I'm like, hey, like, who
parked outside?
Whose granny left the car here? And, my dad's like, oh, that's yours. I'm like, hold up. Like, we just went and looked at a Pontiac Fiero like a week and a half ago. Like, what happened? He's like, well, a co-worker told me about, this lady in her neighborhood, and that was it. And I was like,
man.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, you go because you're in high school, so of course I'm telling my buddies like, I think I'm getting a Fiero.
Yeah.
They're like, you're getting a Fiero. That's like the hottest car. And I was like, yeah, of course. Like that's gonna be me. No.
And the rug just completely pulled out from
man, yeah. I come rolling in with that boat, and they're like, for like the first 6 months, they're like, where's your aunt? Is she in the back? What's going on? I was like, no,
you're dropping off grandma before school? Like, what's going on?
Exactly. It was awful. But I survived, it taught me humility, I guess.
Yeah. Good learning lesson.
Right.
Oh, yeah. That's why you started working on cars,
I did. That was my first, that was kind of a hobby my dad had. I kind of picked that up from him because in his off time, he and a buddy, they restored like older cars and they made like hot rods, stuff like that. So I was watching that, observing it. I wasn't really into it then, but it kind of rubbed off on me so much that when I did get settled with my own life and kids and stuff, that was kind of my outlet.
Spare hobby.
Yeah. So I learned stuff through them, and then I really tried to apply it. Like, once I got out, I picked up a couple cars, started working on them. I've always worked on my own cars, and so that's always been kind of a natural thing. And it's a stress reliever for me.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's always cool. What's the most fun car you've had so far?
The most fun car.
Or the proudest one you are?
Well, I have a 46 Chevrolet truck that Courtney and Sam rode off in.
Yeah.
That's probably my favorite. I had a 59 Ford truck that had a 428 Police Interceptor engine in it, which that engine is not it's a Shelby type engine. They make a lot of hot rods out of that engine, but a 427 is like the coveted engine. This is a 428. But it was really popular in the 70s in all of the cop cars because it was a very high output, very fast motor. That motor is in the truck. Those are about two probably favorites that I've had.
Was that a square? Is that the square bodies or is it not
on the
truck?
59 Ford?
Yeah,
it's the bubble front.
Okay,
but it's like it's got like a bullnose kind of a front end. It's an ugly truck. I mean, it's an ugly truck.
There's something unique about it.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a bulldog.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at it, it's like, but bulldogs, they're like, are they cute? Are they ugly?
No one knows.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's like, man, I like it. But now the 46 is the really sleek. It's got the fenders that kind of all, just wave. It's a really beautiful.
It has like a flow to it.
Actually, yeah. It's garnet gray. It's very pretty. And like I said, that has sentimental value, to me, obviously. But nothing I've purchased, like, it comes close to those just because.
It's mostly funny because like those are 40s, 50s, and then the first car you get's a 70s, which is like worst
yes.
decade of ever getting a car.
100%. Yeah. Nothing good. Nobody ever goes to the 70s to find like, this is the best decade of car manufacturing. It was like everybody just took the time off and was like, it looks like a brick, put wheels on it, it'll be fine.
It's good.
Right. Lean it a little, it'll be fine.
What's the longest car we can make? That's a sedan. Still.
Right.
And it's like, all right.
In the same vein, my mom, during that same period, she drove, my dad, for some reason, got her a Cadillac Brougham Edition 74, I think it was. Mm-hmm. And if you ever look that up, I think that car is like 26 feet long, right? It's got a trunk that you could put probably a team of, a soccer team
in there. You could,
oh my goodness, it was huge.
You have a barbecue out of the trunk.
Yeah, my mom was like 5'6", probably weighed 115 pounds.
Yeah.
And so her little head in this big car, and she, it would just keep coming around a corner. You'd be like, where in the world is the tail end of this car? Because it would just keep coming around there. And that was her car. And I was just always like, and my little 76 Nova was like right beside it. And I was just like, neither of these cars are in any way, shape, or form aesthetically pleasing to anybody.
Nothing's nice about this.
Nothing is. And I'm sure a Cadillac during that time was a prestigious
still
car.
A Cadillac.
It was very, high end. But the car was like, it was literally like driving a living room full of furniture around. It was just, it was.
The only good thing about those is when you had like the like, I don't know what it's called, but like the picnic seating where it would go like the back seat was like, it was like a U almost, and you could look out the back. Like, that's hilarious,
right? Yeah,
like who was in like,
but that's the way the cars were. Like seat belts,
don't forget about
child seats. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine.
You don't need them.
Right? Yeah, because I can remember that was about the time that you started seeing the late 70s, early 80s was the first like seatbelt push I ever remember. And I just remember like during that period of time how people were just so adamantly opposed.
I don't want a seatbelt.
Right. It was so funny because like if you look at that footage now, like your generation, younger people, it's like, huh?
Yeah.
Like, it's just an instinct that, the vast majority of people just instinctively, button their seatbelt. Mm-hmm. But back in that day, it was like, I mean, like my dad was a chemical engineer. I'm not letting nobody tell me how to buckle my seat. It was just funny.
There's a great video about it when they first outlawed drinking and driving.
Yeah.
And there's a video of this like whole town revolting by like drinking and driving.
Yeah.
It's like,
and
it's just like,
I think I've seen that.
Yes.
Yeah, where the guy's like, who's going to tell me I can't drink a couple cold beers on the way home?
No communist going to tell me not to do that. It's like, it's hilarious. Like how far things come. And it's like,
And what is that, 40 years probably?
It's not that long.
Yes, that we have come that far that people would like really, that was something that.
They were willing to die on that hill. That like, I should be able to drink a beer in my car.
Right.
And it's like, dude, you're driving a boat on the
right. Like, we get it that you want to, but the other 50,000 people that are on the interstate
that are affected by your 50-foot long car.
Yes.
I mean, you can take out like 4 cars with that. Dude.
Right.
Like, I don't think that's the best idea.
Right. But it's funny how like, I mean, culturally, like we have,
progressed.
Right. I mean, like car seats when I was a kid. There was no such thing. I fell out of a car fiddling with the door handle. My mom took a left, and the door flew open. I ended up in a gas station. I bounced off the road and ended up in a gas station. My mom continued down the road all the way to the grocery store, only to realize when she leaned and told me to get out, I wasn't there.
Yeah.
The door had kind of come back. So she had to retrace her steps. And there I am standing in a gas station just kind of looking around with like 3 or 4 people standing around me because they thought I fell out of the sky.
Yeah.
They were like, I mean,
it's like, where'd this
kid from? But like, there was no car seat, but it's so funny.
So, the amount of times you look back in like childhood, it's like, man, it's amazing I did not die. Like anywhere from there.
Yes. Right.
So 4 years, it's like, wow, that was
close.
That was close.
Yeah. But it just shows you how resilient like that children are. They are so
they're pretty tough.
resilient. When you have your first child, you think they're made of like porcelain, and you're so careful with them, rightfully so. Mm-hmm. But you're so careful. But you have 2 or 3, and you're like, he'd be fine.
That third one will make it.
It'd be all right. Get up, shake it off. That kind of stuff. Because they are so resilient that, it's just amazing, how that works. But
yeah, it's crazy. After Walmart, you went to Publix. Is that that's the progression?
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of the switch just because you're kind of complacent when it's something new, or
I tell you what kind of steered me away from there was Walmart. At that time, was getting more into the business side of things, right? Rightfully so. Publix was coming on the scene in our area. They were new, and I remember being intrigued by they hung their hat on cleanliness and service.
Yeah,
and those were two things that really resonated with me. So I went from Walmart, because I was like getting a little bit disenfranchised with the business part. Because I felt like I was compromising service. Go to a company that they're hanging their hat on, the very thing that was important to me. So it was a natural fit. I go over to them. They also said, hey, we really would like to have a supervisor, so if you'll come on board with us, help us open a couple stores, we're going to put you in a supervisory position, which that's what happened.
Yeah.
And so I started with them. I actually opened the store in Easley. Store 205 was, I think, one of the first stores I opened. And I worked there and kind of got it off the ground and opened up a couple others. And then, like I said, the opportunity to be a supervisor.
I imagine getting to build off of all the experience from Walmart and really, drinking from the fire hose.
Yeah.
So at that point now, you actually know what's going on.
Yeah.
Which,
and
different feelings.
Exactly. I tell people all the time, the thing about Walmart, the Walmart, and I'm assuming they still do. Walmart, they really know how to run and manage a business on paper. Because everything they do, there's a percentage behind it.
They're the best logistics company in the world.
I remember in the early stages of my career, somebody from Bentonville, Arkansas, calling me and saying, "Hey, we just noticed somebody bought 48 cans of Slim Fast off your shelf." I'm like, I'm standing here and I don't know that.
Yeah.
And they'd say, "We know that it was just run through the register. Can you go check?" This is in the 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, so I can't imagine what they know now. They know probably stuff before you even buy it, But I was always amazed at that and how they manage stuff, and they could just be so precise with the percentages and how the money comes in, and how the money goes out. So yes, the business part really stayed with me even when I opened my own stores.
Yeah. And
then with Publix, I was able to really, kind of realize not so much the business, but what the importance of being clean, what the eyes see, how people perceive it, and then being able to give everybody this white glove experience. What does that do? And so it was just a perfect match for me professionally, because I got to see pretty much what, in my opinion, the two best at what they do.
Yeah, combine both worlds.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. And so I came on board in 2003 with Publix, and then I was a supervisor in 2005, and I did that until 2008. When I left there to kind of do my own thing. But no regrets. Either company, both provided exactly what I needed when I needed it.
Yeah. So it really worked out for everyone.
Yeah.
That time starting a family, what went into that decision? Did y'all know you wanted kids? Kind of before.
Yeah, we did. So we had been married. We got married in 95, probably 97, 98. We were like, hey, we're comfortable. We figured this income thing out. We were already kind of pre-planning, okay, when Candy, when we bring home that child, I wanted to give her the flexibility of working less, not working part-time, whatever she wanted to do. So we kind of had started kind of working towards that, living off of one income, budgeting, stuff like that. But we had trouble with pregnancy, so we went to the doctors, trying to figure all that out. And it just, at the time, it was very early on in the infertility stuff. There wasn't a lot of that going on. So for a couple of years, we really just struggled. She wasn't getting pregnant, or she would get pregnant, lose it, whatever. Yeah. And so we battled that, and then in 2000, we found out that she was pregnant with Josh. So we did plan on it, but it wasn't in our timing.
Yeah,
it was very frustrating for us because I think most people probably assume, oh, it's time to have a baby. Let's have a baby. Like, you know, like let me check my schedule. You know, this works out. We'll have this baby in March, and you know, but that was everything. You know, but that, and it helped Candy and I. Our relationship grew a lot stronger because never, obviously, as a guy, I never experienced that, but being there, being supportive, you know, trying to figure all that out and. Really kind of created a closer bond for her and I as we were going through all that. Yeah. So that when we did bring Josh home, you know, we had plenty of time to digest like what she was going to do and you know what she was going to work and so she took all that time off and ever since then, even to date, she still has been a part-time pharmacist, but she's always kind of balanced that with what the kids needed, wanted, that kind of stuff.
That kind of. So you shift jobs in the middle of that then?
I did.
Was that kind of like, was that not a scary or nervous experience?
Well, at that time I didn't realize what an entrepreneur was. Yeah. But an entrepreneur, which I found out when I started opening up my business, is that, that doesn't really, it's not something that we consider a lot. And so like, yes, is that a risky thing to do? Yeah. Is it, probably poor planning, maybe, but an entrepreneur, is more like, hey, like let's just shove this in here and see what happens. So I'm going to put these chips in the middle of the table. Let's see what happens. That's kind of how I've, like I said, even before actually acting on entrepreneurship, that to me it's always been like I wasn't really that concerned about the timing. It was just it is what it is. Yeah. And so if the opportunity presented itself, it really wasn't like, is the timing right? I was like, if it's a good opportunity, it's a good opportunity. And so,
did you have well, kind of give some context from what I've heard. You had a Publix. You worked there a couple of years, and then Publix asked you to go down to somewhere else, Florida, I think. Yes. And that's when you decided to open your own.
I did.
Was there like planning up to that of like I want to put aside some money to have, or like I want like
so that
like what was like kind of
the honest story is as a supervisor, Publix, I enjoyed what I did, and so I ended up going up to about 44 stores I had that I was managing. So I was managing every Publix from Dahlonega, Georgia, through Spartanburg.
It's crazy to be Dahlonega.
Dahlonega. That was the first. It took me a minute to remember that, but Dahlonega, Georgia, to Spartanburg. So that's a huge swath of territory. Yeah. So I was turning in a company car every year, and you have to turn them in at 90,000 miles. And I was putting 2,000 miles a week on a car, managing 40 stores. Yeah. In doing that, Publix said, hey, I think we would love to have you at our home office, which was in Lakeland, Florida. And so in Lakeland, Florida, they sent me down, showed me kind of the district and the territory and all that stuff. There's nothing wrong with Lakeland, Florida. I just at the time was like, this is not for me. I've been in South Carolina most of my whole life. I just have a new family, to your point.
Yeah, you have kids.
I got kids, everything. Yeah. So they were okay with that. Now, fast forward another year and a half, they come at me again and they say, hey, we'd really like you to come down and look at this. We really think the timing's right. My mistake was saying, okay, right? Yeah. Because I should have probably just said, hey, I'm no more interested today than I was last time. Don't waste your money. Well, this time they pulled out all the stops. They literally, I was like, well, when do y'all want me to fly down? Well, if you'll just show up in Lawrenceville, Georgia, which I had a store in Lawrenceville, you just drive to the end of the tarmac. There'll be somebody to meet you there. You're going to fly the president's jet.
Right.
I was like, well, that ain't bad, right?
Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah, so I never have before. And so I ride to the end of the tarmac in Lawrenceville, the private airport right outside of Atlanta, get on this private jet, zip in, zip out. It's like a 30-minute flight in a jet. I mean, it's just straight up and straight down. Yeah. And I flew this thing in. I get in there, and man, I'm telling you, like I had a personal assistant the entire time I was there. They had me set up with realtors. They had me. I mean, it was just everything you could imagine. Yeah. And of course, like I'm super gracious And I'm grateful, and I'm thanking everybody. I'm telling the realtor, like, these are beautiful houses. Like, these are great. She's taking me to the schools. Super, just trying to do everything that they can to say, like make me picture in my mind.
My life's here. I want to move here.
Exactly.
I want to set up
Removing
here.
every possible scenario where I might not like it.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I did not play it well. I was like super excited about everything I was seeing.
Well, this is fun. Yeah,
this is great, right?
Yeah.
And so the personal assistant that literally this guy, I guess his task was to be with me.
Probably to be with you until you kind of feel you out.
16 hours a day, this guy was with me. Yeah. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, taking me to the hotel, from the hotel. If I wanted something, I mean, everything. Yeah. And he would ask me, like, to your point, he would ask me, like, leading questions, which I'm sure he was going right back and feeding, the president, all this stuff. Yeah. And I don't remember how I answered them, but I never really was derogatory or anything. I was just answering the questions. Mm-hmm. That week gets to the end, and of course they come in. There's like 5 or 6 people in this office, and they're all like, "Hey, like, all right, like,
what are we doing?"
Yeah, like, well, I mean, wasn't even that. It's like, "Hey, we're doing this, right?" Yeah. Like, like it wasn't, "Hey, we want an answer." It's like, "Hey, like, we're super excited," and I was like, "Hey, this has been great, but." And I kind of just walked him down the thing. I was like, look, I have a young family. This is 2007. I was like, so I have a 7-year-old. I've got a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
And I don't have my youngest, but so I have 2 of my 3 children here on Earth. I was like, they just started school. Mm-hmm. Like, nothing is more important to me than, like, we want them to grow up there. We love where we're at. Mm-hmm. And I love what I'm doing. Yeah. Long story short, they said, can you excuse us for a second? And I'm like, sure. So I go out. I'll never forget the lady's name. Her name is Cherie. Mm-hmm. Cherie's out there, and she's like, what's going on? I was like, he told me just to come out here. And she's like, well, you can go around there and have a seat, and they'll come get you or whatever. I was like, okay. I go around there, sit like an hour and a half. And Cherie is walking by, and she stops, and she comes back in the room. She goes, what are you doing? And I'm like, you told me to come sit here. And she's like, but why are you still here? And I'm like, I'm assuming that somebody's going to pick me up. I flew down here on the private jet. I'm waiting on somebody to pick me up. And she said, nobody's picking you up. I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean nobody's picking me up? Yeah. And she's like, nobody's coming to get you. And I was like, and she goes, I can call you a taxi and get you to the airport. Yeah. So I had to spend the night at the airport, get me a ticket to come home, flew home that weekend. That was really kind of the catalyst where I was like, I'm not going to be welcome here. Yeah. Because I'm not willing to do
what they want.
Which is no fault of theirs. That was just what they needed to happen. And I just wasn't, they felt like I was the guy. I wasn't the guy. Yeah. And so from there, I just knew the writing was on the wall. I needed to do something different. Mm-hmm. So I just took the stuff that I learned. I knew how to run a business now. Mm-hmm. I knew what service meant. Yeah. And so I just need to find out how to do this on my own. So I cashed out everything I had. I cashed out my retirement, cashed out my 401k, cashed out my stocks, cashed out everything, and I opened up my first store.
2008, I guess? Yeah. What incredible timing to sell your stuff.
Yeah.
Sell everything.
Right. That's the crazy thing, right? Because right before the bottom fell out, I had cashed out everything I had. Took out a $500,000 loan. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as I built this thing and opened in December of 2008, 2009, everything just, people losing their job, 20% unemployment, all of this stuff. And so what that taught me is I doubled down on being as lean as I possibly could, but I was going to win or fail on the fact that I believed that people needed to be taken care of. They needed to be, done at the highest level possible, and as affordable as they could. If I could do that, I felt like I could build loyalty, and loyal people will do anything, for you. And fortunately, was able to weather that storm.
Mm-hmm. Did you not have, when you see the market falling out, did you not have some like, wow?
Well, and you also remember Chloe was born in 2009.
Yeah.
I just opened this thing, and we bring her home from the hospital.
So now you have 3 kids.
3 months.
You have a new brick and mortar.
Yeah, brick and mortar store, $500,000 loan. I'd cashed out another $100-something thousand. So I'm $700,000 deep in this thing, and everything is going away, and everybody is telling me
everything's flashing. It's all red.
Oh, for sure. Every dash light I have is on. And so so there was a lot of sleepless nights. I'd sit up all night, and I would just But again, all I knew what to do was like I'm in this thing, right? Like, so there's nobody coming to save me. And so I just have to figure out, like, I believe this, and if I believe this, I have to keep moving forward.
You think that a lot of it was, to me, it sounds like more just the mindset of maybe, I mean, because we kind of talked about it, I'm the greatest, but maybe it's not I'm the greatest, but I can do this. Like, I believe full-heartedly my business model, my plan, it's going to work. Like, having that ultimate belief.
Well, I think you have to have the confidence in your business plan, right? And then the rest of it, I think for me was, I kept hearing that it was going to be very hard to make it. It was going to be, there was a ton of people failing, all of these things. But I just kept thinking, somebody's making it.
Someone's done it.
Somebody is making it. If somebody's making it, then I'm going to be one of those somebodies. And so, I would, and again, the quote I made earlier about skating to where the puck is going, not to where the puck is. What that taught me was, and how I kind of like did that, is I started looking very early when this was happening as, where is the business that is not being affected by this recession? And it dawned on me, nursing homes. Nursing homes ain't affected by. Those people are still there. They're still taking medicine, and they don't really care what the economy's doing. They're paying a monthly fee to be cared for. They're not. They're not in the market. They're not in the, in the workforce. They're not. And so what I did is I started going to every nursing home and saying, "Who's furnishing your medicines? Are you happy with them? How are they billing? What are their weaknesses?" And then lo and behold, before I know it, I have 3 nursing homes. Well, what that did overnight was, there's no better place to go capture 400 or 500 prescriptions in one swoop. Right? Like, if I come in this neighborhood and knock on every door, there might be 10 people that might say, you know what? I don't like my pharmacy. I'll go to you. What do I need to do? Right? When you go and you capture a whole nursing home, it's everybody. Right? So when I did that in 2009, what that did is, literally overnight, it stabilized my prescription cash flow.
Well, it gave you a baseline.
Because I went from doing like 40 a day, or maybe 20 a day, 60 a day. I was just going like this, just like, like looking at a heart monitor. To then all of a sudden I'm like, holy cow, hold up. I got 300 and something patients that represent 1,000 or 1,200 prescriptions. And that flows through on a routine basis. And so once I figured that out, and a couple other little smaller programs, and again, all I was trying to be one of those people that was referred to as somebody's making it. I just had to figure out, okay, like, where do I need to go? How do I get in front of this thing? So it didn't matter what it was. Like, another example is if you remember, which you may or may not, but this is also a period of time when, like, the swine flu was a big deal. Well, nobody could get swine flu vaccine. So what did I do? I bothered DHEC every day, because I was like, y'all are getting it. The government says you're getting it, and you're dictating where it goes. Kelly Hunt and Easley need some. They were like, who are you? Like, we're talking to Walgreens. We're talking to CVS. I kept bothering people so much that one day, literally, this FedEx refrigerated truck pulls up. It is like a chest freezer of swine flu vaccine. That was it. So much so that Walgreens and CVS, guess who they were calling? Me. Because I have it. Right? And again, what I was trying to do is, I was just trying to get ahead of everything that I possibly could, to find, any revenue stream that was going to get me to being able to pay my loan, to pay my bills, to pay my employees, to make sure I did that. And every little thing, weren't all home runs, but there were little things that added up that, and then once you come out of something like that, right, it's kind of ingrained in you. You continue to look at, like, where the next things are. And so that's kind of how that worked out. But very fortunate to survive the recession, but it was, simply just, I just kept moving. I just kept moving, and most of it was forward.
Yeah,
a couple steps back, but most of it was forward.
Sure, it's kind of like a misinterpretation of the exponential curve. Just like smoothly goes up.
Right.
It's much more of a jagged.
Yeah. Right. If you get far enough away from it, it looks smooth.
Sure.
But when you get really close to it,
when you look at it, it's like, oh,
yeah,
ouch.
Exactly. Yeah.
That day sucked.
Right. I took many a beating through that, and there was several things like I just didn't know what I didn't know, so I was getting penalized or fines from different organizations and places, not because I was neglecting or being somehow trying to get something over. So I just didn't know that was a thing. So like I would get a fine from the state or something, and I'd be like, why am I getting this? And find out, well, you didn't file something. Well, okay, I'd have to figure that out. And so there were several of those, but at the same time, I just kind of kept like, hey, like, if you'll bear with me, I'll try to fix it. You know, and fortunately, I was convincing enough that most of those places were like, okay,
we'll work with you.
He's a moron, but he's trying.
Yeah.
Right. And yes, so took that as a win.
Yeah, that's what matters.
Right. Exactly.
That's what matters at the end of the day.
Exactly. Right.
I'm this is curious. Through that time, through your whole time, you do hit like the opioid epidemic problem.
Yeah.
What was dealing with that from a pharmaceutical side?
And one of my stores was heavily, I would say we had a heavy track record of filling opioid prescriptions because of the proximity we were into pain management.
Well, yeah, that's
that was kind of that wave
issue of it helps people.
Correct. Yeah, and what started out as a good thing, because we have a lot of veterans that are banged up that need pain management. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are debilitated from wrecks, no fault of their own. There's a lot of people that legitimately need pain management.
There's a bunch of cases where it does fit to use.
Absolutely. The problem is that it also got to be a recreational thing, and there was enough unscrupulous physicians that use it as a cash cow. You pay me $500, you're going to get 3 prescriptions for the opioids you want. Mm-hmm. And you can go sell them if you want, or you can take them.
Yeah.
Right? Wasn't really a concern of some of those unscrupulous doctors. And thus, then we've got this rampant, epidemic on our hands because doctors are writing, for 360 oxycodone 30s.
Why are they?
Right. But nobody's questioning it because the doctor wrote it. Right. Uh-huh. And then once that gets out there so far, then you've got so much pressure to keep producing those things. Is then you get gang activity involved in it. You get a lot of the bigger type drug dealers, even in the Greenville area, Spartanburg area. And then now it just got out of control.
Yeah.
And pharmacies were caught up into it because, let's be honest, there were some unscrupulous pharmacists that were also cashing out because they were like, hey, you want an unopened bottle of Lortab, hydrocodone, unopened. Well, that to the right people is like one of the holy grails, right? Like you're saying that this thing's still got the seal on it.
Yeah.
For $10 a tablet on a 500 count bottle, very lucrative, right? Where the pharmacist probably paid $150 for it, he's turning around and selling it for $5,000. And so it just got way out of hand, early, and the DEA and local law enforcement
people.
They can't. There's no way to.
Well, they can keep up with it.
No, they can't keep up with the other stuff, like people breaking in and the big stuff. So
how are they going to keep up with who's writing, or are you getting a prescription pill? You know,
how are they going to chase you for writing for forging a prescription for 120 of something?
I think it's most interesting from like a medical sales rep at the time. Have you ever watched the Netflix documentary on it?
Yeah.
I don't know how accurate that is or not, but the idea of like hiring the medical sales rep that's the woman fresh out of college, it's going attractive, go talk to doctors and whatnot.
There's a lot of truth to that.
It's such a questionable time. It just seems interesting to have to actually deal with it then, because you're not writing the prescriptions, but it's like you have the people that it's like that guy's rough. It's like you more just have to deal with the repercussions of what's going on behind the scenes, or not behind. Well, what's going on with it. It's not.
Back in that day, and one of the reasons why OxyContin, Purdue, they got in so much trouble is because a lot of those documentaries and Netflix things were kind of loosely based on some of that.
Yeah.
Is because they were really selling, the fact that, does it work? Yeah. Like, and in a controlled release form. But what their intent was to turn it into this big recreational drug. But, when you're paying for vacations for doctors and you're providing all of these other little, these
go on
things.
a 7-day cruise and, we'll give you this.
Yeah, then the doctor, what is he going to say? Oh, wait, you got a back issue? I actually may have something for you.
Yeah.
Write that. And then, so it's kind of like this tit for tat type situation. And before you know it, you have well-meaning people that were like, I never really needed OxyContin, but when I got it, that I have this genetic predisposition to addiction. Now I'm addicted.
Well, now all of a sudden I took one in, now I can't stop. But
and I still see that. And of course in the vein of business I'm in now, unfortunately we're working with people now that have been struggling with for decades, probably from that period of time. But now they've lost literally everything, right? And it's sad, but coming through that time period, I didn't ever. You didn't put all of it together. Now, hindsight.
Well, you don't really connect the dots at the time. It's correct. It's it's kind of hard when you're at you're at your level of I'm looking at what's going on. It's not like you're not seeing the grand picture of all right, what's happening in North Carolina or what's happening in
even right down the road. I know what we're feeling, but I don't know what CVS, Walgreens, and even the other independent down the road is doing. I'm just monitoring what we're doing, making sure what we're doing is right. But I'm doing more than any of my other stores at the time. I knew that one store was doing a larger portion, but it turns out everybody in that area was, because that's where one of the hubs were. Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah,
it's such a unique problem that somehow no one can figure out how to deal with it. Right. What do you do with addiction? And what do you do once an addict's got hooked up and now they've sold their home, they've gone homeless, and now they can't function in society? What do you
Right.
It's such a unique. It's like the marvels of modern medicine and technology of where all right, my back is killing me. It's wow, that's great that I can take something. But then it's the downside of oh, by the way, I think that's a large part of the problem. It was well, if you read this fine print right here that says you might get addicted and you might...
right.
And that, it's just well, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's also that weird thing I've seen professionally where it feels better to be addicted to something my doctor wrote.
Well, that's
it feels very bad
if it's meth.
If I buy it, from Sammy on the corner.
Yeah.
But this feels right.
But he's writing it to me, and he's a professional that's licensed and knows better. Yeah. And I think, that's a little bit of it's. You have family doctors and whatnot that kind of push. I don't know how to gently phrase it, but they wrote a bunch of prescriptions. And it's you're going there as a person believing this doctor knows all and is best and whatnot, but it does come down to some of the facts of the matter that not all of them are looking into what does this.
Yes,
I'm just seeing that I'm getting an extra, chunk of money and I'm getting a paid vacation.
Right.
And the drug company got it through, and it's tested and so it's good. And not all of them do the actual fact checking. And I think that's right. I think that's a misconception by the general public of that your family doctor's looking into everything, and that's not discrediting or saying all of them or whatever, but there's at least some that are not going and doing the background of what's going on.
Right. Yeah, unfortunately, today, the government and other watchdog groups have certainly curtailed a lot of that, but there's still lunches being brought in to the offices. Yeah. There's still what are called in-service things where they might rent out Rick Irwin's on a Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Right? For a casual night out, a Rick Irwin's dinner, you're going to spend $100 and something bucks on a great dinner per person. You rent that out. You have these folks come in, and you tell them about your medication.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not giving you money, and I'm not telling you, hey, I'll give you a weekend at Kiowa if you write it. But but I did feed you $150 worth of food and drinks.
That steak and lobster weren't free.
Yeah, so it's it still goes on, today to a certain degree. It's a whole lot less than it used to be when I first started. But
I think to kind of bring it full circle is now that you have content creators, you have people on the internet, you have a social media platform where they talk about where you learn these things have very positive to the internet. Yeah. I can now free-formally talk about what's going on with Purdue Pharma. Yeah. I can have a whole documentary about Purdue Pharma that people will clip and throw, and now it's going out to everyone. Yeah. So it is unique that time it just kind of unfortunately hit bad factors all at once. Yeah, of course.
It was either a perfect storm or a terrible storm.
Whichever way you want to look at it.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
But now you kind of can't do it's nice advantage of the internet. It's a great part of it.
Yes.
Then now you can have all this.
Exactly.
More fun topic. I am curious for hunting. Yeah. When did you start shooting bows? Is that like recent or
no? I started shooting bows. A very good friend of mine has a bow shop, and so I was intrigued. I was going there just supporting his business. I'm not a bow hunter. Yeah. But a hunter nonetheless. And
were you a hunter like kind of growing up?
Oh yeah. I hunted growing up. Not a great hunter. Not like one of these guys that was going every weekend. But I was around it, exposed to it. Yeah. Buddies in high school hunted. Mm-hmm. I'd go hunting. So yes, so I was familiar with it. But with bows, my experience might have been shooting a buddy's bow or crossbow. Mm-hmm. But when my buddy opened a bow shop, I was kind of like going in. I was blown away with like compound bows. Yeah, just the mechanisms and the engineering that goes into those. I was fascinated by it. Then shooting it. I enjoyed it. So I was shooting at his range and stuff like that. Yeah. And then, by this point also, I was like, rifle hunting is rifle hunting. What kind of challenge does this pose where I literally have to be in a tree, figure out the mechanics of this thing, and you can shoot like comfortably maybe 20, 30 yards. There's guys that can shoot a lot further, but I know I'm not that guy.
My skill level,
practice like I need it, I need it close. So there's a whole lot more of me in this versus reaching out at 200 yards where a deer doesn't even have a clue I'm remotely near. Mm-hmm. This is like a much more challenge. Yeah. So I probably started, I would say probably around 2010, 11, so maybe 15 years ago, I started getting into it. Yeah. Then I just went totally into bow hunting. Just started really getting back into rifle hunting, now because I was just it was just such a challenge. It's so neat. So, I've been fortunate enough to have a couple nice bows. I've got a Matthews now that I shoot. I like it. It's not a cheap sport. It's like golfing. Right, like the clubs are expensive. The bows now are
you got to pay to play.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I think I find it really intriguing. It's not something I've done. Yeah, but how the compound bows work and how like the first time you hear bow hunting, you think Robin Hood almost. Yeah, of like they have
recurve,
like a recurve bow. Yeah, and it's like they have their little string and you pull it and it's like that. But a compound bow, there's a lot of mechanics to it. You also have like different shot releases you can put on it, different trigger, so it's not so much like let me just pull my dainty arrow back and shoot it. You also have arrows are different. Yes. There's a lot more it's really it's fascinating. There's a lot of integral parts to it. Yeah,
and I tell you one of the most fascinating things to me is at the bow shop. They have they basically have a shop part, which is fixing people's bows. And when you get a technician that's taking a bow apart, when you even look at a compound bow on the wall, it looks like there's 8 parts to the whole thing, right? A couple of cams, a couple of limbs, the thing you're holding, maybe a sight, whatever. Man, I'm telling you. There is so much engineering going into those things. Yeah. And the way that they're tied together and so that the cams release and the bows bend and all of that. I mean, it's just so neat to see that it's amazing the thing doesn't fly apart every time you pull it back. I mean, it really is a marvel of engineering. Yeah. But yeah, it is neat. And like you said, I mean, I mean, it's neat to see, it's neat to feel, but there's nothing like having success in the field with something that, though it's not primitive like a recurve, it certainly is putting a whole lot more skill and thought into like that process of being, stealth enough to have any animal get within that range, but then be able to mechanically figure out the positioning and how to get the bow back and how to hold it. And well,
it's like any other skilled sport of where I have to shoot a basketball so many times if I want to be able to shoot it well.
Exactly.
If I want to be able to shoot a bow, further distance or more accurate,
100%.
I have to go shoot a bow. I think that part of it really intrigues me. It's something I want to do one day, but it's just like right now, money wise, don't really want to buy a bow. And time wise, I think it would absolutely consume like my free time of like I would want to do it.
Sure. You'd be out in the back.
Just shooting it.
I mean, I did that probably before I went hunting. I think I shot for a solid year because what I didn't want to do is I didn't want to go out there and either hurt myself, like get excited and fall out of a tree stand.
Sure.
I wanted to have the confidence, so I shot 20 arrows at a time, 30 arrows, 40 arrows until my shoulder would get sore. To get to where I felt like, okay, this is so mechanic now that I've got this part down. Now I just got to figure out. But my wife would make fun of me because she'd come outside. I'd be up 20 feet in a tree stand in my backyard. Shooting down because I just trying to
recreate the shot every single time.
Yeah, exactly. What does that feel like? And when the bow goes off, like the reverberation, like how am I going to be able to balance, that kind of stuff. And so and once I did it, it's a whole new thrill. For sure.
What's the release you have on your? Is it like a?
I have a finger release. I don't have the thumb, but mine is one where I actually just use where when I pull back, it kind of goes here, and then it has a finger trigger, and so it releases the claw, off, and then it fires the.
It's very cool.
Yeah,
it's interesting. I think the other part is really the arrows of how they can expand on them. Like, hey, you get different ones that are I guess thinner or less. I don't know the. Less grains, I think it is. But then you can have the arrowhead that will open it. I mean,
mechanical versus fixed.
Or if you make a shot, I mean, it's going to ethically they're going to die. Like it's not a. I think that's also a misconception of like, oh, you're just hitting them with an arrow and it's like,
oh no,
it's gonna take them down. Like it's not a. I think that's
shot placement is obviously critical, but
right.
Even I've shot small tips and I've shot the mechanicals that really open up to about 2.5 inches. Which is a big, wound. That if the shot's right, whether it be a rifle, broadhead, whatever mechanical fix, whatever, right? Shot placement is critical, but yes, I mean it is definitely a way to bring any animal down quickly, dispatch them very, very quickly, and if you shoot a high powered rifle, but you hit them in the back hip, that's going to be debilitating to the animal. You may find it may die, it may not. It may just have a broken hip for the rest of its life. But
you put a 2.5 inch hole, it's not
in the shoulder of it ain't going far.
It ain't going far, and I think that's probably the best.
Right, but it's amazing to me that again the engineering is so good that you can put one of these things on the front of an arrow and you shoot it, and it doesn't make that arrow go bananas because you would think that the wind is going to hit that broadhead and steer it, but a good one set right, it will go straight as an arrow. Like if you had a field tip on it.
I think it's amazing the engineering wise of getting into.
That's what I'm saying.
I love stuff like that where it's like it's so. You think of it as such a simple process, right? And there's so much like detail and level to it. That some people might like shooting this type of tip. Some people might like this release. Some people might like this scope. Some people might, and it's like there's so many parts of it that you can play around with and find what works best for me.
Correct.
What gives a different process, whatnot.
Oh yeah, because I've been through different arrows. I've been through different weights. Different lengths. Like all that stuff.
Probably like pull weight or strength.
Exactly. Your draw. I mean, there's all that, and so there's a ton of adjustability with all of that. But I've been through all that too. Like where you just try to any edge you think you can get. That. Which I think is probably true, like in golf clubs, right? People think, well, if I had these clubs, I'd be a little better golfer. Probably not. But if you think it gives you an edge,
might as well do it.
Right, might as well try. It's the same thing with that, because I know actually just today my buddy called me about this time every year. Hoyt, which is a big bow manufacturer, and Matthews, big bow manufacturer, they drop their new models. And so he was telling me that I think the Matthews ARC, A-R-C maybe, is their flagship new bow model. Well, it dropped like the bare bow, just the bow out of the box. Nothing on it. No sight, no balancer, no nothing. It's like $1,400. So just the bare bow, you know. You're going to spend quite a bit. Yeah, because by the time you put all the other stuff on it, you'll, have $2,000 in it? Probably. So it's not a cheap hobby. No. But it's addicting. Because, you know, once you get into it, you know, but my Matthews, I think I've had it now 6-7 years. Love it. And it's probably 4 or 5 models old. Maybe
that's the interesting part. Like the models supposedly keep getting better. Like supposedly it's like, you know, making it like smoother, lighter, whatever it is. And it's like, it's a bow. And it's like, well, and for people like me, that's what keeps me from buying the next bow, right? Because I'm really comfortable with this bow, right? Why change it up? And there's a lot to that, because if you go to a new bow, that there's definitely a learning curve. You know, like this newer bow is a lot lighter than my existing bow. Well, in a stand, that's going to make a huge difference, because I'm used to more weight. I'm used to the position I have. You give me a bow that's longer and lighter, your whole shot process is messed up.
I mean, you're right. It's going to take dozens and dozens of arrows for me to figure this out. So, but there are guys that are like the new truck drivers, right? They drive a 25 until the 26s come out. They go get 26. And bow hunters a lot. And
if you got the time to sit there and shoot it, then all me.
But I would tell you, that's the way you should get into bow hunting, is buying the guy's used one. Is because if he pays $1,400 for it, he uses it for one season, probably puts 200 arrows through it. He turns around and is like, $500. You get a practically new bow for a third of the price. You know, and I tell people that all the time, and have gotten people used bows. And a used bow, even if you have somebody go through it like a technician and put new strings on it, you know, make sure it's mechanically sound. I mean, the thing will shoot for as long as you want it to. Right?
It's pretty cool. Are you just deer hunting? Is that the only?
Yes.
Do you ever want to do something else? Like go out and go do some big hunting?
When I went to Wyoming,
you had like a little niche to like go out there.
I did, because, you know, out there, you know, the people, the locals, they want all of the elk hunters and big game hunters they can possibly get, because they're a nuisance. And, you know, they're in people's driveways, they're eating their shrubs, they're doing, and so they're, you know, and I mean, I was like, holy cow, like these people want me.
I could go get a tag so easily. I could just fly out.
Until I saw like all that goes into it. I mean, you're hiking for.
Oh, you got to go out there.
Oh man, and I mean, so it's very. But I would, before I get too old, that would be one of my bucket list hunts, is an elk hunt. You know, that would be good. Other than that, like I've never. Some of people do like the wildlife safaris, like Africa. That to me, I don't either.
I don't see. I don't see that as the same. Especially like all you have to go through to get all of, you know, hide and meat back from Africa. That's an expensive and complicated process. And to me, it's like, if you're gonna go hunting, what's kind of the point if you're not going to use what, like, you know, like, I don't see the point of it going, you know.
I'm the same way.
I don't get it. I don't like it.
If I'm not going to eat it, I don't feel real right about, like, going and killing it.
Just because I want it to, like, hang on the wall. Like, you know. I'm not for it.
I mean, a lot of people do it, you know, but that's another thing, is I just wouldn't. And I'm not like a destination type hunter. No. That's the elk hunting would be about it. Elk hunt would be
cool. I mean, I just think that would be a unique experience. Of like, you have to backpack out there. And you gotta, like, you know, it's a physical, like, challenge. And you're going, and you have to hope that, like, an elk wanders through. And it's like, that to me seems intriguing. Of like an actual, like, it's a real physical challenge. And mental challenge as well. Like, it's an actual. I mean, it's like that's like their marathon. It's like, go, and I'm putting, for 1 year, I'm working towards being prepped and ready. And I'm carrying my pack, carrying my bow. I'm getting ready to make a shot, because I only get one. You know, you miss, and it's like, well.
Your hunt's over. That guy's collecting all his money, and he's like,
See ya.
Nice try.
Yeah.
But you're exactly right.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a complicated and very, competitive process, because the elk is clearly the better adversary. I mean, you're in their territory. They know where to go. They know what to do. They know that that they are in the toughest of circumstances.
Yeah.
You are not.
Yep.
And so to be on their terms and their place and being able to hunt something like that. And then if you are fortunate enough to shoot something and to get the animal, then you have to get hundreds of pounds
you got to pack it out.
meat. You've got to take it apart and pack it out and ultimately get it on donkeys. And then you
don't have a bear come by while you're doing it all.
I mean, there's so much to it that is like so neat to me that I would just like to do it.
It would be cool. It'd be cool to go out there. It'd be a cool place to see. I think that'd be one of. I think I'd be interested in doing that one time. I think that's kind of up there as like it'd be cool. It's like skiing out west almost.
For sure.
Like, you're not ever going to replicate that on
not over here,
a North Carolina slope. It's like you go up a boone, you get some powder fake snow blowing on there. It's not going to be the same experience.
You're exactly right. If you go to Colorado and come back and go to Wolf Laurel, it's not the same.
Maybe that's when you got to hang it up. And it's like, well, I don't know if I can go back to what I've been doing.
Right. Yeah. Like, well, do I want a lift ticket in Northern?
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah.
I think so far been ending it with one general piece of advice, one good thing or one positive that you would kind of give to anyone going up and starting their career, things you've gone through, and you put the family life, everything through your experience. Yeah, it's kind of one integral part. You'd say.
I think one of the things that I have seen, which I think I fall on the right side of, that I would encourage anybody to do, is to do things professionally and personally so that when you look back, you have the least amount of regret. And what I mean by that is, like, when I talk to other people that are fascinated or want to hear stories of like my entrepreneurial, doing it, most people, especially my age, will say, I wish I did blank. I wish I, opened a barbershop, or I wish I did. Right.
Went out on a limb and did
it. And I didn't. And now I can't, because now I'm in my 50s or I'm close to retirement. I can't, I don't, all that stuff. For me, I just am very happy and I feel very fortunate that I tried. Yeah. And so for me, I think I would have said the same thing if this would have failed. Right? So if I would have opened up one pharmacy and it went belly up, I know that I tried and failed. Yeah. But if I would have continued and gone to Lakeland and moved my whole family there, I would probably be, a wealthy director, executive within Publix. Right? A great life for a lot of people.
But a different lifestyle.
But I would have never known. Right? I would have never known, like, could a guy go and try to achieve the American dream? Yeah. And for me, like, I got to see that. I got to experience that. So that's off the, I don't worry about that. I'm here I am in my mid 50s. Yeah. And that's not a concern to me. Now my focus is how do I use what I learned from there to really pour it into this nonprofit space? Yeah. Again, no regrets. Yeah. Right? Like I love that about where I'm at right now. And so, the piece of advice I think would be, like, if you dream it, or you feel like you have some type of a mission and you're passionate about it, try it. And the younger you are, don't let people tell you that you're too young. Just try it. You're young enough that if you fail, you can recover.
You have recovery time.
You got recovery time. Yeah. That's what keeps people my age from doing anything. Yeah. They want to hear about it, but they don't have the ability or the wealth or the expendable income to try something now, because now they're doubling down, trying to just hold on to everything, that they can, because they're planning on the next stage. Yeah. But when you're in your 20s and early 30s is like, if there's something that's like nagging to do, or a dream that you feel in your heart is, attractive enough to go after, do it. I don't care what it is. That's one reason why I'm doing your podcast, because I was intrigued. Like, why is this guy doing, but when I looked and saw, I was like, this is obviously a dream. He's passionate about it. He's very good at it. Well, and who knows? Like, who knows what can happen out of a podcast? Other opportunities could develop, or you're going to create something else, to impact people. And I think that's great. Because all dreams don't have to be big. They can be. But it's the fact that you're acting on something that you seemingly are passionate about. And you have a natural, gift towards it. So,
well, thank you.
I would encourage you to keep going.
I'm definitely going to try. It's pretty great. I enjoy doing it, is the biggest thing.
I can tell.
I think I like to call it, I've kind of said my creative hobby is this. Yeah. I'm not in arts. I can't draw. Right. I can barely put together stick figures. Yeah. But this is kind of like that. I'm like, why not? It's like being able to document my kind of life, get able to meet people, talk to people that I knew you from, crossing paths. Right. And it's like, it's a pretty interesting story. Yeah. I would never, maybe I could ask you to go to coffee or dinner or whatever and talk to you, but I'm like, why not put together a video and just sit down and talk with them? And there's a bunch of ordinary people that have really fascinating stories. Yeah. And it's like, talk to them.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that, and that some of like the thing I think that hopefully things like what you're doing is bringing back, is it's bringing back more conversations, and we don't do enough of that, right? So the thing about being invited by a young man that I've crossed paths with a few times, the intriguing things to me is the same. Is I was like, I want to talk to him. I want to see more of the behind the scenes of what's happening. Yep. I want to see like what his methodology is, all of those things. And so it's neat, because it's neat to be talked to. Yeah. And it's neat to have conversations instead of being buried in a phone, scrolling or looking. So, for people that are watching these types of podcasts, I think it's an invitation for them to do the same.
Yeah, I think it gives us something. I think kind of, hopefully someone takes something away. Yeah. I'm sure someone will find something,
Surely somebody will be like, well, my kid's not that bad.
Yeah, it's like, he can make it. It's like, surely there's some positive at the end of the tunnel.
Maybe I've brightened somebody's day to feel better about themselves. Yeah. That's fine.
Whatever it is. Right. Whoever can find something. Right. And if nothing else, I get joy out of doing it. So I'm going to do it.
For sure. I think it's a great hobby. I really do. Because I've enjoyed it. I did, like I said, I did a little bit of my homework and watched and stuff. And you make people feel super, at ease, and you just naturally kind of guide through the conversation. And you obviously do some homework to find out a little bit about it.
Yeah. It's a little bit. Yeah. It's not so simple as like just, come talk. Yeah. It's a little bit more than that. It's it's a little bit more than that.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I think you did a great job.
Well, thank you. Really, I appreciate it. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on here.
Yeah. And if I ever look for another content creator, non-pharmacist, I may be giving you a call.
Yeah. Give me a chat.